All right, it's Thursday night. It's the BS sessions with me and my brother Jerry Supe. What's up, Jerry?
What's going on, man? All right, for the folks who see this, when we first put it up, you'll see a picture. You'll see in the background that Mark's got lines of Coke. This is not a pro Coke show, so don't think that we're promoting cocaine just by looking at the picture.
Oh wait, I just had a bump. Oh, go ahead.
But I'm doing okay, man. Yeah, let's introduce our guest, man. First of all, we get the guy who came up with tonight's topic. Somebody we haven't had in a while. It's good to have him back, man. Eddy Cannistraci, man. How you doing?
Hey, doing good. Yeah. Yeah,
Love that shirt.
I'm excited. Thank you. Might be a spoiler
That is an
alert
awesome shirt.
there.
I was gonna say that
yeah,
shirt might be a spoiler alert. Yeah.
I'm betting I might not be the only one that might have put that on the list, but we'll see. But yeah, I actually I was thinking of doing one of my YouTube videos about this topic. I never really got around to it, but I've been wanting to do it. I even was thinking about doing it at the Rock Over podcast. I don't know. For whatever reason, I never did it anywhere else. But for years now, I've been thinking top 10, because most people think top 10. It's the top 10.
We
Coke
take it
albums.
to 11.
I know you take it to 11 like Spinal Tap, or it's an average length of a peak era Cheap Trick album too. They always liked 11 tracks, which is a cool thing, of course. And me and Mark were just rapping a couple of weeks ago, and it's like, hey, we're going to do the show because my show's on hiatus for a couple of weeks, so I felt like doing something, and I don't know, it just popped in my head. I was like, hey, did you guys ever do top 11 cocaine albums? And Mark's like, no. I was surprised that you didn't. I thought Mark would have done that by this point, but you just snort booze.
Whiskey, yes.
That's all you do. But anyway, yeah. So I thought this should be fun. I thought it'd be a good topic. Obviously, a lot of great rock music and perhaps music from other genres as well has been fueled by cocaine. I'm not saying, Jerry, that I'm endorsing cocaine, but I'm definitely endorsing talented people using cocaine to make awesome music. And
Right.
yeah, eventually they're going to crash and burn, but fuck them later.
Oh, I'm the first one to say some of these bands should have stayed on coke, man, because the music
Yeah, I
was
mean,
better.
that's a sacrifice you make as an artist.
I encourage new bands to do it.
Yeah, they're not doing it enough. That's a problem. They're playing it safe, these new bands. The great bands almost killed themselves. Some
Right.
actually did die sometimes.
That's why they all
it's
sound the
for
same.
sake of art.
All right, let's see. We also got Al Horta, man. Again, love having this guy on, man. How you doing?
What's up, guys? Good, man.
Another cool shirt.
I'm all.
What is that behind you? What is that behind you? It looks like a radio.
It is a radio, but it's like a carrying case.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Like you open it up, and my wife got it for me. I didn't even use it yet. It still has like the plastic thing on it, but it's cool.
Okay.
She found it, and she's like, I thought it'd be cool if you want to carry like I don't know something in it. Take it somewhere. So
Cool. And then we got the guys whose name I can never fucking get right. And I'm gonna try it again tonight. Tim
called
Wirasnik.
There you go.
Did I get it right?
Jerry.
Did I get it right? All right, man.
Congratulations.
Cool. Awesome. First time ever, man. How you doing?
Hey, you got that right. I never got Lee's right, so congratulations. There you go.
You get a free gram of Coke now.
Because I had the phonetic spelling right in front of me, actually, so I can't fuck it up. All right. So Mark, let's start with the by the way, we're doing Edwin's topic tonight was the best top 11 albums or 11 albums that bands did under the heavy influence of cocaine. But before we get started on the BS, what parameters did you set, if any? Because I have to admit, I picked cocaine and I took other drugs too. Is that cool, Edwin? Like heroin. I know I couldn't think of 11.
It's not cool, but I guess we'll have to accept it.
Oh.
I was very, very specific. I mean, there's so much drugs and so much music that just opens it up to so much. I mean, LSD, obviously, that's a whole subject on its own. Heroin is very specific. I don't think of heroin albums as cocaine albums. Cocaine is a very specific drug.
I think mine all has cocaine on it.
I think mine do too, maybe two, but
In fact, I was actually such a purist about it. I assume we're going to do like a little honorary mention thing at the end.
Yeah.
I have a couple of honorary mentions. There's one of my favorite albums of all time. I did not include in the top 11, but I am going to mention it because the artist was mixing cocaine with booze and pot. And
Oh, I
it
thought
created a vibe. It just created a kind of murky vibe where it just feels like a druggy album. But I was thinking purely coked up, like a very coked up, slick, punchy kind of thing.
I did
That's
a mix
very
because I know
specific.
one was heroin and coke. So sorry.
Maybe if you're speedballing, I don't know. Like it just says like if it's like on a down, that's
Uh,
not cocaine album. Cocaine album's got to be up.
uh,
It's got to be like that manic
I
moment
think they were just
where
doing
you're
both.
like in the bathroom and you're like, yeah, this is an awesome idea. Let's go take it to the studio. And then they take that energy, that coked up energy, into the studio and they make a
Well,
fucking.
maybe I'll hear one of yours. I might change the one.
So I guess Jerry, I guess I would allow other drugs as long as the cocaine is still fueling it to be a
Yes.
high energy.
You know what? I'm
album.
sure it was.
As long as it's not some like downbeat heroin like mopey album. That's a different thing than a cocaine album.
Like Alice in Chains albums or shit like that.
Nah,
Yeah, I might even
Nah.
facelift. I might even say it's a little cokey, but after that, no,
Yeah.
they're too mopey. Yeah, yeah.
All right, Al, man. I mean, was your list pretty pure or what, man? Would you say you stick to
Pure.
the
Like,
Pure.
what, mine?
yeah, are you sticking, did you stick to a total coke albums?
Yeah, I did try to stick to. I mean, I'm sure Edwin will call me out on maybe one or two that's like not pure white snow, but
But
hey,
not pure shit, man. It ain't any good.
he's mixing it with talcum powder.
no, I really tried to stick to the coked up fucking albums, fueled, you know. So.
I did mostly. I think it was only one.
I'm gonna blame Mark for this because Mark said just do anything with drugs. He told me that.
I
the other
did.
day. So I'm
Bad
gonna blame
Mark.
him for it.
I think more mine is all coke. So
All right. It still leads to an interesting conversation. As long as we're talking about great music and drugs, that's
Yeah.
like halfway there.
There's one album I have on a list. It might be like the different band members might have been doing different shit. So
Yeah.
you know,
like all of Hawkwind versus Lemmy.
yeah.
Yeah.
Lemmy was into speed and Hogwarts was into like LSD, right? Or
Yeah. Even that's why he said they fired him because he was on the wrong kind of drugs.
Yeah. I'll tell you
All
what,
right.
Hogwarts a great band though, man.
Oh yeah. Hey, sometimes mixing drugs leads to interesting music, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Tim, man.
Tim,
is
how
your-
pure is your list?
Is he frozen?
Tim?
Oh,
I
did
think he's
Tim
frozen.
freeze?
Oh, he
Okay.
froze.
Tim's retired.
Tim's
Yeah.
retired.
No,
Did I go? Yeah.
that's the heroin album.
Tim. Tim.
Not at all.
Wake up! Wake up!
Oh,
Uh-oh.
he'll probably be
Hey,
coming back.
He froze up.
Oh, okay. Keep
All
talking.
right, we'll see what
There he
we'll
is.
see when it gets that way.
See a T.
There, T.
He's trying to come back.
There he is.
There he is. He's back. Back for the attack.
So, what about your list, Tim?
What?
My list,
Was it pure?
my list is I pretty much all cocaine, pretty much. Could have been cocaine and something else. I don't know. I wasn't in any of the recording sessions, but pretty much from what I understand, cocaine. But I went, I went on through a lot of different genres, not just hard rock and metal. So you're gonna hear some names come out of me that you will never hear coming out of my mouth ever again.
Cool. Yeah, I got some different genres too. One thing too is to me, you almost gotta have some new wave albums because new wave.
Oh, I should have.
Very cool.
I fucking skipped those.
I can't believe it because you actually like a lot of new wave.
Oh,
Mark.
I love new wave, dude.
To me, if there's one subgenre of music that's very cokey, it's fucking
The
early
Cure,
80s
dude.
new
The
wave.
Cure is totally coked out.
Well, yeah, I wasn't even thinking about the Cure, but yeah, pretty much all those bands
Yeah,
from
the
early '80s, late '70s, all that post
Bauhaus, all that shit.
yeah, all that's just very cokey stuff.
Yeah. I think the
All right, Mark.
Smiths, Johnny Marr was on coke. All right.
All right, Marcus, start the BS, dude.
All right, man. We're talking about some kind of addiction here today, so I'll get this story a ride first. But I thought it was funny, and we got a lot of thoughts on this. That freaking Ingrid Andress, whatever his name is, the train wreck on the national anthem performance at the Home Run Derby. She said she was drunk. I think she's using the Mel Gibson excuse. But what do you think about that, Al?
Yeah, I think she's using that as the way out, kind of the easy way out. You know, like, yeah, I was drunk, I'll do rehab for a month and just blame it on
Right.
that. You know, get my vocals in order, auto tune again. You know, I don't know. You know, dude, that was horrible, bro. I was like, holy shit. I mean, what was she thinking, man? You know, but whatever. That seems to be the out for a lot of artists, though, man. Just like blame it on getting fucked up or something. You know, do your little stint in fucking rehab and call it a day. You know, so that's all I got on that.
Well, I'm just saying the memes are coming out like it says she was too drunk to sing. Oh, really? And it shows Ozzy, shows
Yeah.
Pantera.
Oh, yeah.
It's like getting into the rock world. That's why I brought it up because it's kind of
Yeah.
rock. Because they said, "Oh, really? You can't play drunk?" Ooh, these bands did. Tim, what do you think about that?
Times have changed.
Tim, what do you think about the girl who can't sing? She was drunk.
Me?
Yeah.
I just think she needs to check her auto tune. Make sure that's working correctly. You know, I mean, I don't know. I didn't hear it. I don't much care about the artist, so I really couldn't give a fuck.
I never.
My,
heard
my,
of
my
her.
advice is my advice to anybody is like, if you really can't sing, don't attempt the fucking national anthem. You know, just don't do it. You know.
Any thoughts on that, Edwin?
I don't know who this person is, but I heard a rumor that she can't sing. That's all I'm saying. That's the word.
I don't think that's a rumor anymore.
Yeah, so apparently she can't sing, but
That's
You
why
should have
I
been on
say
is she attractive? I haven't seen her.
She is.
Cute.
make sure
All
you
right.
check your auto tune. That's all I got to say about that. You know, because that seems to be the answer to every singer nowadays is they got to have auto tune.
All right, Jerry, any thoughts?
It still was better than Roseanne Barr, so it wasn't.
Well,
that
Roseanne
horrible,
did that
so,
on purpose.
But
Compare
no,
it
I
to
mean,
the Fergie one.
Has any of us heard her sing in her regular voice? I haven't, so I can't really tell
I don't really know. I don't know her.
if she can
so.
sing at all. So I don't know. I mean,
I don't much care.
what Al said, I think it's just a way out, an excuse for a shitty performance. I mean, you know, you better off just saying, I think you get more respect saying, I got fucked up, I had an off night or whatever. I don't know, but maybe she was drunk. Maybe she's telling the fucking truth. I don't fucking know. It was awful, whatever it was. I actually missed the original one. I watched the recording of it later. I'm like, ugh. And you can see the players in the dugout just going, oh my God. The looks on their faces like, yeah, it was fucking terrible, dude. You know, and if it was something like that, I do I feel for her, but you know, I don't know. So I don't really, at the end, don't know how to feel about it. So
They should have asked Paul Stanley. It probably would have been better and lip synced.
Yeah, well, I say Paul Stanley has a worse excuse because he doesn't drink, as we all know, and his excuse was, "Hey, I wear clown makeup that reminds a bunch of old men of their childhood, so I can do whatever the fuck I want." So
Wait a minute. Paul Stanley drinks. He just doesn't drink in public. That's all. He drinks. He has been known to sip a few
There was that
back.
one time, you know, when he had that gay orgy after drinking a little too much.
yeah.
By that one time, it was probably like, 1,000 times.
That one time at band camp. All right.
Stanley
All right.
Eisen drinks. He just doesn't drink in public.
Don't rattle the Kiss Army.
Let's get to
Well,
it.
I've seen pictures of him with a glass of wine, and he might be like
Yeah.
a social drinker, but
Nah, he is.
Yeah.
He said he's drank some wine.
Yeah.
And
You got to relax those muscles, you know.
All right, man. Let's get to some some kind of movie shit
If he
here.
wants to relax, he should take the stick out of his ass.
Well, he does after midnight with certain people.
That would
As the
help.
child comes over.
oh man,
All right, let's get to something Edwin might know about. What will become of the historic Paramount Pictures lot in Hollywood? The future owners of the legendary company are reportedly interested in selling the property. I'm going to start with you, Edwin. You're the movie guy on here.
It'll be condominiums for foreigners. There you go. That's my opinion.
Oh,
Nothing
shit.
against it, by the way. Nothing against the cashed up rich people from other countries coming into Hollywood and living in condos that were once historic sites. Hey, whatever. Fuck it. It's just a big money grab now. So What the fuck? Sell off all of Hollywood. It doesn't matter. It was once a great culture, but that culture is dead and gone. That's my opinion. So I'm moving on.
All right, Tim, any thoughts on that?
Well, being that I am currently living in New Hampshire, I don't give a fuck about Hollywood. They could fall in the ocean. I wouldn't care. You know, they haven't released a good movie in forever, so I don't give a shit. Again, no, they can do what they want. It's their land. You know, they own it. You know, if I want to sell my house, I don't care who I sell it to. I just want the money.
Yeah,
Simple
but
as that.
that should be an historic landmark. I'm just gonna go a little bit. That should be a historic landmark. You know how many fucking classic movies were filmed at that lot?
Yeah, but
television
they're
shows.
movies.
But they don't give a shit.
But they're
That's-
movies.
The thing is,
They're
it's
movies,
fucking
it's not
landmark. Man.
reality.
It's like Tower Records on Sunset should have been designated a fucking
They
landmark.
did the same thing in New York. I agree. There's some countries like Paris, for example, France. They have different sections. They got Old Town, and then they build up the New Town. They certain cultures do preserve their historic areas. America is very disposable. They don't care. Some areas, like Philadelphia, preserves some of it, but for the most part, you know, yeah, I just know this because I lived in New York and LA, and I saw a lot of really important, culturally important places where there were, you know, great artists that used to hang out at, and great movements happened there, and they just didn't give a shit. Like they replace it with a fucking condo or yogurt
House of
stand.
Blues, condos.
Yeah, that's the condo. Look at the Sunset Strip. The Sunset Strip,
Fucking
almost all of
gone.
it. It's just like fucking Vegas.
gone.
And you know, the
If that's
rainbow.
the case,
I left
that's-
LA because I didn't want to see the. Sorry, Tim. I just want to finish one thing.
Oh.
I left LA because I didn't want to see when the inevitable happens where they close down the fucking rainbow, because it's only a matter of time. It's like the last man standing on the Strip. They
And the
pretty much
Roxy.
marketed everything else. And the Roxy. It's almost
And the
they're
whiskey,
like two whole.
Troubadour, and yeah.
I don't think the whiskey's gonna go anywhere. I think that will
I
survive.
think it's all going.
Well, that's
somewhere.
already an historic landmark. The whiskey.
Yeah, it's a historic landmark.
It's
Maybe
almost
they'll
like
turn it
the
into a gift shop and put some stuff around it, but it's not what it used to be. But what were you saying, Tim?
I was just going to say that if that's the case, then New York City should have done that with CBGBs.
Oh yeah. No,
I
you
agree.
should have preserved a lot of stuff.
It's in
too.
Vegas.
Yeah.
But
They
Al,
tried to do that. They tried to do that with the Stone Pony in Asbury Park, New Jersey, but Bruce and Bon Jovi, they saved that.
That's good. Yeah,
They wanted to tear that down. That's a historical fucking venue, dude. Like that's, you know, any New Jersey artist or any artist that's played in there, that's like, you know, a historical. That's like probably the most historical New Jersey venue there is. You know, there was another historical one, but that's gone. The one City Gardens in Trenton, New Jersey, which was a big punk club that a lot of. I mean, Jon Stewart bartended there. You know, fucking. I mean,
I
I
used
saw
to go there a lot. That was a great venue.
I
back
saw the
then.
Ramones there. I mean, it was just like you walked in there and you felt the vibe, dude. You know, you just knew like how many classic like punk and new wave and all sorts of like bands like that played there. And same thing with CBGBs. I mean, I went in there too and I saw shows there. You know,
Mhm.
that getting taken down was a travesty, in my opinion. You know, the whole Hollywood thing. You know, hey, I'm sure mountains of coke was consumed in that lot.
the Godfather.
You know what I'm saying? I don't know, man. I didn't really hear about the story, so I can't really comment too much on that. So, yeah, I live under a rock once in a while. I don't hear stories.
Well, studio system's pretty much dead, so it's all going now. Anyway, you know, it's all
Long
done.
live indie movies now, man. Because
There'll be a lot of those.
mainstream Hollywood.
Who's going to
blows
be the
chunks,
next?
dude.
Who's going to be the next Tarantino, though, man? What do we got?
Well, there might be some like version in terms of streaming, and there's also like television. To me, it's like the next Tarantino was like Vince Gilligan, like
Oh,
Breaking
yeah,
Bad,
fuck
that's
yeah.
all. Like I just think the medium shifted a bit. That's all. The kind of cool, gritty, adult kind of, I would say like crime dramas and stuff is more a series thing, you know, on TV than a movie thing. So I think we have it. It's just the medium shifted. That's all.
Yeah.
You know, that's
I
my
think streaming is the next big thing to happen. I mean, it's going to take over movie business. It's
It's
going to
already-
take over
It really
TV
already
business.
is.
It already kind of
You
has.
know,
man.
Yeah.
No,
And this
it
pro-
started, but it's really gonna take over. I mean,
Yeah.
really gonna.
Well, you got
take
all
over.
these movie
You don't
theaters
need-
fucking underwater right now.
Because you don't need
AMC
a
and all these
satellite
theaters,
dish or,
they're not
or
making money.
cable to get this stuff. It's
Yep.
great. I have it. I love it. It's great.
I still love
Yeah,
going.
you watch everything that when you want it, how you want it, you know.
I still
Yeah,
love
how
going.
you want it?
I still love going to a movie theater.
Me
once
too.
in a while.
I'm getting
I will do it
I'm
occasionally,
getting a movie
once
pass.
in a while. I went.
Yeah,
last
I got that 3 movies a week thing from AMC.
Yeah, that's
love
what
it.
I'm
But
gonna
even
get
movie-
again.
I saw Maxine
movie
last
theater.
week. I enjoyed it on the big screen. There's not. I saw Gazelle, like the last Gazelle movie. But for the most part, it's like it's got to be a certain kind of movie. Like if there's cool visuals and there's something like, hey, I want to see that on a big screen. But most of the stuff I watch, I don't need to see it on a big screen. I'm fine with my decent sized widescreen TV. In the comfort
Not
of
like
my.
Total Recall.
Well, I saw that back in the day. In the
I
movie.
know.
Like nowadays, the TVs they have out, you can get 90-inch TVs
Yeah,
for
they're
under
pretty big.
$500.
Yeah.
I mean, you can get sound bars that are just as good as cinema sound bars. You're not paying $15 for popcorn.
Yeah, I was just
And,
gonna say.
But I still like to see some movies, like horror movies. I like to see horror movies in a big screen. It's a lot better.
There's a
Just
few.
don't fucking see Longlegs. That movie fucking sucks.
Jerry, I agreed with you, but after I got out of the movie, I started thinking about it,
That movie
it was
horrible.
like when I first saw Pulp Fiction, I didn't understand it, and I watched it again. I need to watch it again because there's a lot of things in Longlegs that Nicolas Cage did that were brilliant.
Understood it.
I understood it. It was fucking awesome. I like it.
He was being Nicolas Cage.
No, you
Yeah,
don't
he
understand the premise of the story.
I do understand the premise of that story. It fucking sucked.
Well, no spoilers on here,
It
but
spoiled my number one cocaine album, Nicolas Cage.
But what was the topic that we were talking about?
Paramount Pictures may sell a lot.
Oh, I mean, like I said, I live in Tennessee, so it don't affect me. You know what the world needs? You know what the USA needs? We need another fucking golf course, man. Put a fucking golf course on top of it. Fuck it. We need more of that.
That's funny. I passed this place on
Take the whole strip. Take the whole fucking strip
I
and make a
passed
big
this,
fucking golf course out of it.
I passed this big golf course, and today I was looking at the golf courses I'm passing on the 57 freeway. I'm looking over there at Diamond Bar Golf Course and go, God damn, they're all fucking wearing the same clothes.
And you can name the
what the fuck? No
you can name the holes. Like this hole is dedicated to the whiskey. This hole is dedicated to
the golfers all look
there
like
you
a cult.
fucking go, dude. There you go.
The golfers look
Problem
like a
solved.
cult.
It'll be memorialized forever, and
You're not getting my joke. Don't golfers look like a cult? They're all wearing the same clothes. The white hat, the khakis, and
yeah, and then that way, if we put another golf course there, then that way a certain ex-president can
Nope. We didn't hear
no,
that.
I mean seriously.
Obama's the Hollywood guy. Obama's already called.
I never said names.
He already called that. He's like, that's my golf course.
No. So that's the answer to every real estate problem in the world. If you're wondering what to put down, put down a fucking golf course. Plain and simple.
Isn't it a sad state of affairs, or at least it lets you know what the state of affairs is in the movie business when Paramount has trouble selling its place?
Yeah, it's not prime real estate.
But it's still a studio, right?
Yeah, but like that's like, what's that mean? In the
Warner
21st
Brothers having problems selling their studio,
and they got a better lot. They got like a nice mountain view in Burbank.
Yeah. So
than Paramount.
What's going on in Hollywood?
It's
called California taxes. Thank you.
Yeah,
that's the only political I'm going to get.
But actually, they shoot more things. A lot of these shows, like even like Cobra Kai, like they only shoot a couple exterior shots actually in the valley. Most of that show is actually shot in Georgia. They shoot a lot of things, a lot of indie films, a lot of horror.
Because Georgia's good to the filmmakers.
Yeah, they shoot in the South, they shoot in Georgia, they shoot in Canada. They don't really shoot so much in California.
That's been like that since the X-Files. The X-Files did fucking Canada.
Vancouver. Canada thing.
Vancouver, Canada.
Even the studios are figuring this out. And these are the guys that have the buku bucks. And even they're figuring out, hey man, we better start watching our pennies.
Plus, people work more remotely, especially post the pandemic, and in Hollywood, like they never really. I can tell you, as someone who works in the business, they didn't really return back to the quote unquote normal world. A lot of the people stayed working remotely. They liked it. You know, it was kind of leisure class. They could kind of walk around in the robes and drink almond milk and do their
Well,
Zooms.
it's better for everybody. I mean, it lets them actually stay with their kids.
Yeah, that's good. They could be with their kids. So that's nice.
And
That's like
it
stop
gives them
paying
much
attention
more
to your
freedom.
kid and let's make a movie.
All right, let's move
And
on to
again-
the next subject, Tim. This has to do with Paramount, but it has to do with music. Because supposedly there's a new series called Metal Thrashing Madness, which is created by Maria Ferreira of Megaforce Records and Adrenaline PR. The series is said to air 10 p.m. to midnight on Saturdays via MTV Live and Paramount Plus, with the first episode on July 6th featuring coverage of Motorhead, Testament, Black Dahlia Murder, Spirit Box, and more. It definitely sounds like a fun show to check out if you can manage to find it.
Did you say MTV? Really?
Yeah, I was gonna say that. It's like MTV Plus. What's that?
MTV Live. MTV
Where would
Live.
MTV Live? Where would I stream that?
Well, it says apparently MTV Live is supposed to be live streaming that you can be accessed through Paramount Plus, but after about an hour of digging through my Paramount Plus subscription, I can't find MTV Live anywhere.
Oh, that sounds like a pain in the ass.
Doesn't it?
Right?
They said if you can manage to find it, there's a new metal series.
I'll just put on a fucking Testament record and save everyone trouble.
There you go.
Just wait till it comes on YouTube and watch it there.
MTV's trying to make music. What's going on? I don't know.
All right.
Yeah.
Too little, too late. Fuck
Yeah,
that.
Do you have any thoughts on
Besides,
that, Edwin, or that was your thoughts?
if
Yeah,
it's
that was
going through
that's my
MTV,
thought. Too little, too late.
going
Al,
through
what do you
MTV,
think?
It's gonna be watered down something fierce.
Yeah.
Well, he said Motorhead's going to be on there. Motorhead ain't watered down,
No
but
big deal.
what do you think about it, Al?
Well, about this documentary or whatever?
No, there's a new series done by Megaforce Records, supposed to be on MTV Live called Metal Thrashing Mad, but you
Yeah.
can't really find it.
Oh, well, it sounds like MTV itself.
Yeah.
I haven't found MTV in the last 20 years, man. Let it go, let alone
Of course, I haven't
fucking.
been looking either, but
It's supposed to be on Paramount Plus.
Yeah, I know. I haven't-
Is it like that? It's like that fucking Harry Potter school. You gotta like look around,
Right.
Maybe you'll touch
You
it.
need to
Where's
find
Waldo?
Easter eggs on the DVD.
Sit down, Waldo.
it's over here one day, but it's over here the next day.
But wouldn't that be cool if we could find a series about metal? That'd be awesome. I would like to see this Metal Thrashing Mad.
Yeah,
series.
I admit if
Oh,
I
it's
could
on
find it.
Megaforce Records, dude. That'd be great, man.
Yeah, I mean, if I could find it, I'll watch it.
It's done by
Sure, absolutely.
Megaforce Records, so it's got to
Yeah.
be good. You know.
No,
I would
it's
think it
done
would.
by somebody that used to work at Megaforce Records.
Ah.
Yeah, he might
Yeah.
just name drop a few big names.
I mean, just as long as Tabitha Soren or anybody like that's hosting it, then yeah, it'll be
The
good.
sword. too.
Well, Texas, I haven't seen it recently, but
Who was a blonde? He was a guy, the VJ had like the long blonde hair, like in the 80s.
Adam
Curry.
Adam Curry.
Adam Curry.
He was the original.
That's
headbanger
him, yeah.
control.
Yeah.
He was
Right,
the original
exactly,
headbanger.
Yeah.
Or
All
the
right.
fucking TRL, the TRL guy, fucking
Oh.
what's his name?
Carson Daly. Fuck Carson Daly. All right, man. But let's get into this real quick. We got a lot of deaths this week. We had Richard Simmons, Shannon Doherty, Bob Newhart. Fucking dude, what the fuck is going
Yeah.
on with this shit? Any thoughts on this, Jerry?
Yeah, Newhart, man, struck me pretty hard today. I was always a big fan of Bob, dude. I mean,
Funny as shit.
I didn't really pay too much attention to the Bob Newhart show per se, but I really loved Newhart, man. I thought that was one of the best shows ever, in my opinion. And Bob was he was good at the dry jokes, the expressionless jokes, man. He nailed it all the time, all the way up to him playing Professor Proton on Big Bang Theory. I mean,
I love that.
the guy was just a fucking classic. What do they call his humor? I can't remember it now. It was all over the deadpan humor, and he fucking nailed it, dude. I mean, he's just a cool dude, man. I mean, it's 94 years again. Should we really mourn? I mean, it's a good fucking life, 94. And he was pretty active towards the end too, doing Big Bang and shit like that. So he had a good fucking life, dude, man. I mean, there's a lot of fucking physical media out there to buy of him. It's timeless, man. But it is a loss though, man. Great comedian.
There was this comedy in the early 80s with Gilda Radner and Bob Newhart playing the president. I can't remember it, but I just remember it was fucking hilarious. It's fucking great movie. Gilda Radner was fucking, he played his daughter, and she was like, I fucking always
I
give
never
it a
thought
try.
that. I'd love to see that too, because I'm a
Yeah, I
big
would
fan
too.
of Open, and I love Gilda Radner. So
Yeah, so
I never
I'm
saw
why you guys are talking about Bob Newhart, but I'm also going to say Bob Newhart, one of the greatest innings of all time on the Newhart show, where he was fucking, he woke up and he was within the Bob Newhart with Susan Plachette, and he goes, I just had a dream I was an innkeeper in Vermont.
Right. Yeah.
It's like, that has to be one of the best ending of the series ever. Edwin, what do you think about that, man?
Everything. Jerry put it all perfectly. Bob Newhart, I always liked as a kid growing up. I remember watching Newhart, not so much the Bob Newhart show. That's like a generational thing. I do
Yeah.
think my mom and people knew the Bob Newhart show, which was essentially like the Frasier of the 70s, obviously a big inspiration leader for that show. He was a psychiatrist. He had like people around him in his life. It was kind of similar. And I saw some clips of it. Some of the writers would go on to work on Taxi and then Cheers. So there is even a little bit of a lineage there that's connected. But good show, but I'm not really an expert at that. I knew Newhart, the innkeeping show, like from the 80s. I remember Larry, Daryl, and those guys. As a kid, I really
Peter
liked those guys.
Scolari.
Yeah, great character actor. But yeah, I always liked his dry wit. His stand up too, and yeah, he was he was kind of the king of deadpan humor. Very good. I liked him a lot. And kind of like the American John Cleese in a lot of ways, that could deliver that.
That's a good comparison.
Yeah, that perfect but cutting deadpan line.
Yeah.
And yeah, I a lot of respect for him, but also like Jerry said, when someone lives that long and more or less was always active up and towards the end, that's more of a celebration by this point.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
Okay. Just to cut in a little, the movie's called First Family. It's listen who's in this movie, a 1980 American comedy film written and directed and comedian actor Buck Henry. If you know Saturday Night Live, you know who Buck Henry is.
He wrote the fucking Dragon.
Yeah, and starring Bob Newhart, Madeline Kahn, Gilda Radner, Harvey Korman, Rip Torn, Austin Penn, Fred Willard, and Richard Benjamin.
Holy shit, what a cast.
It's on YouTube. I am watching it tomorrow.
First Family, it was fucking weird, but I loved it as a kid.
Madeline Kahn was my first crush as a child.
Oh, man. Blazing Saddles,
I love all
man. Yep.
Rick
But Harvey
awesome
Korman
actor.
is in there too.
Yeah. It's a great
Even
cast.
Richard
It
Benjamin.
might be a train wreck. It might be a coked up train wreck, that film.
Right.
But it's pretty good. I remember
it should be entertaining though.
I showed it to my first wife and she was like, this is hilarious.
Does Gilda Radner play like the daughter? She
plays the daughter. Madeline Kahn is the first wife.
I can see that. Yeah, I can see that.
Harvey Korman, I think, is his chief of staff.
I can see that.
It's fucking weird. But Al, what do you think of Bob Newhart, man?
Oh, dude, listen, it's funny. Like my daughter Kayla came up to me before. She was like, "Hey, Dad, you hear that Bob Newhart passed away?" And for my 16-year-old daughter to come up to me, because she loved The Big Bang Theory, so that's like a whole generational thing. Like he transcended generations. Like he, kept on. I mean, and he worked up till the end, man. Like Jerry said, he lived. You can't really mourn the guy. I mean, it's sad that he's gone, but I mean, the guy lived a great life, man. And it wasn't like he was incapacitated like the last decade or decade and a half. He worked up till the end, which all of us really aspire to do. For me, I want to be active till the end.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Once my brain goes or whatever, just fucking. I hope I go quickly, dude. I just don't want to be, a vegetable or living incapacitated, and be a burden on anybody's life.
Imagine if you were a president in that situation. Wouldn't that be bad? Just saying.
Exactly, bro.
It'd be horrible. Imagine that scenario. Just
Anyhow. Not my show. So
So Tim, we don't do politics. We want to keep it fluffy.
It was a hypothetical scenario.
I understand. We're bringing it back to Bob Newhart playing the president in First Family. But Tim, what do you think about Bob, man?
Well, first of all, I've watched both of his series because I'm old. So I watched the 70s series, and
There
I
you
watched
go.
his series about being an innkeeper in Vermont, because I literally can throw a rock from my house and hit Vermont.
Remember, Tim's retired here.
Yeah, I'm old, so I'm ancient. But yeah, both shows were pretty good. I like Newhart show better than the innkeeper one. I even forget the name of it.
Newhart.
It was just called Newhart. I think the 70s one was
But
called the Bob
anybody that'll
Newhart.
do a series that's
yeah.
based in Vermont.
And he had a variety
that
show
one,
before
the
that.
Vermont
You
show
know,
was
Counts a
just
variety
Bob.
show.
Yeah.
But he was also on stuff uh, like Big Bang Theory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He had a guest spot on there, and I mean, so he was active right up until, and I mean, active to where everybody saw him. He weren't like on some independent show that nobody's watching. He was
That's a
on
big
big
show.
time TV.
Yeah.
You
And I
know,
think
and
he
it's
won.
like,
I think he won an Emmy for that role. Actually,
I think he did too. Yeah.
so it's like, yeah, it's sad that he's gone, but R.I.P. Bob Newhart. But Jesus, if you got to live a life, that's the life to live right there.
Yep.
All right. So let's get into just real quick. Jack Russell retires from touring. Great white singer. He retired from touring because of medical diagnosis. I'm just going to give that as quick news so we can move on to something else. He thanks the fans. But then we get to Metallica's Black Album, 4th album ever to be in the Billboard Top 200 for 750 weeks. Little newsy. Any thoughts on the Black Album, Edwin? Being that long on there?
It's funny. I would say it's the most underrated, really fucking popular album of all time. Because it depends on what group you hang with. If you're like us and you know a lot of metalheads and hard rock fans, and yeah, I mean, listen, I don't think it's anywhere near as good as the first 4 albums, but I still like it better than everything that came after it. It's a solid album, and if you were to create a perfect mainstream Metallica album, well, they did it. That's why it made so much money, because they hit it out of the park. They found a way to do essentially like a pop version of Metallica while still being very true to themselves and their sound. Like, they slowed it down and they slicked up the production, but they still, like, they have a sound that's very unique and very distinct. And if you look at that time period, like, that was a couple months before Nirvana broke. Like, to me, and I say this all the time, I don't think the Black Album gets enough credit. And like, people were acting like the Load albums, like they were following grunge. And I was like, well, Metallica helped grunge. They set up that whole scene, in a lot of ways. Thrash and grunge in the late 80s were kind of running on parallel tracks. They both hated like hair metal, and they were both from Northern California or Seattle, Northwest, the North, West Coast. And to me, that album is very influential. It changed the musical landscape, I think, at least for a couple years, for the better. And it got rid of a lot of shit. Like, people would say Nirvana killed hair metal. I think the fucking Black Album killed hair metal. That's literally when they're throwing the darts at Kip Winger. And it's a very important record to music and metal. And regardless of what you think about it, there's no denying why it's so popular and why Metallica ended up being one of the biggest metal bands of all time. It's very accessible. It's very catchy. The deep tracks, that's what I go back for. Because to me, I think it's got great deep tracks like The God That Failed and Holier Than Thou and Don't Tread on Me. There's a lot of great
Through the
songs.
Never.
Yeah, there's a lot of
Wolfen, man.
I love A Wolf of Man. And, obviously the big 5 singles from it are a little played out. But, I could still get into Sad But True from time to time in a few of the songs. But it's a really good album that I think a lot of people like to shit on just because it's so popular. But, fuck them. It's the Black Album. And I think it's still the 5th best Metallica album. So that's my thoughts on the Black Album.
Any thoughts on that, Al?
Listen, man, like, that's when Metallica went supernova, and every once in a while there's these benchmark albums that just kind of, to me, that's like, like in the early 80s, we talk about, we talk about albums all the time that are the kind of what's the word now? Shit, now I'm forgetting. They get people that aren't particularly into metal, gateway albums. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
To me, that's kind of Metallica's gateway album
Like
now.
Pyromania was mine.
Yeah, like Pyromania, I think it's very similar.
Exactly.
Yeah, mine,
Pyromania. I always call Quiet Riot Mental Health a gateway album. That was very, very big on getting people who weren't never listened to hard rock or heavy metal. Like all of a sudden they got this album and hey, listen, oh shit, man. Like now, then there's Twisted Sister, then there's Def Leppard. I think Metallica the Black Album.
Back in Black is
Back in Black. I think Metallica the Black Album is this it transcends genres, dude. It just kind of, God, man, it's like the Dark Side of the Moon of like this kind of our generation. You know what I mean? It's really is. Now it's become that. Now it's over 700 weeks on the charts and everything. I could kind of see it's one of those albums too that probably a lot of people that don't know Metallica, they probably begin with that album and they end with that album. That's probably the only album that they have by Metallica in their collection. Somebody that's not even remotely deep into like metal or hard rock or anything like that, but they like that album. There's certain albums that are like that, where like, it's like, oh, let me get this album. It's like it's like an essential album. You know what I mean? But I don't need to go beyond this. I don't need to go and get any other Metallica albums. This is all I need. You know what I mean? There's certain people that are into music that are just kind of like that. They just get like the greatest hits or like these big, huge albums, and that's essentially their discography, their record collection. And I think this Black Album is one of those albums that's in like pretty much essentially everybody's record collection. That's why it's so huge. I mean, to this day, I think does it sell like fucking 100,000 copies a week or some shit, or a month or something like that. It's crazy. It's crazy to think
Especially
about
with the remaster they just put out, the box set and stuff. It's selling more.
But I mean,
here's a question I was going to ask you guys. When it comes to record sales and shit, do they include remasters and shit as far as total sales?
They count that. Yeah.
Everything.
Okay.
Everything.
They count anything that will sell.
Well, no, I'm just saying I didn't know if
I mean,
that was a separate.
What's the Black Album? It's over double diamond already. I think.
Yeah.
Right. It's over 20 million. Probably almost 30 million worldwide. Who knows? I don't know.
I like what Trujillo said. He said, look, I don't have the Black Money album. He's always
this is why see this is why, like, it's funny when you listen to Jason Newsted in interviews. He's always like, I don't have to work another day in my life, dude.
Yeah.
I really
That's what
don't.
Trujillo meant. I don't have the Black Money album.
Yeah.
He's got the Black Album money.
And
you
Jason's
got
got a
there's
point.
benefits besides being alive. There's benefits to being the middle basis of Metallica.
Yeah, there you go. So that's what I got on that.
What do you think?
It's deserved. I think it's deserved. Everyone made a lot of great points. I still think it's a great Metallica album. I wasn't one of those that like shunned them or anything because of that. I mean, Ride the Lightning was my first one. Yes, they changed their sound, but I understand, being a Rush fan, I understood kind of change and evolution in sound. And I mean, Rush changed fucking almost album to album, so I could kind of see bands evolving. I wasn't so narrow-minded thinking like, well, fucking, Metallica sucks now. I mean, I still prefer the first 4 albums, but the Black Album, I don't think it sucks. I think it's a great album too. So,
Tim, any thoughts on that, man?
Yeah, I'm kind of, I understand what Edwin said, and I agree with most of what he said, but I still like the Black Album over Justice for All. But I still prefer Master of Puppets to any of them. But the Black Album was produced so much better than all the albums prior or before that it just hit. I mean, it's like a lightning strike,
lightning in a bottle
on a clear night, and you can see it. I mean, the lightning coming down, you can see it. It just boom, and it just hit, and it was like, wow, this sounds great. And it did sound great, and it's a lot better sounding than the other three, but as far as the songs that are on it, I don't think they were any better than Master of Puppets or Ride the Lightning or even Kill 'Em All. You know, as far as song structure and the content of the tracks, I think they were better than the Black Album. It's just that it was produced so well that people actually had to listen to it, and it was like, wow, this is different, you know, because when it was released, it was different, but it was the same. And to me, it was Metallica, you know, spreading their wings out. And, you know, it's a good album. I'm not going to shit on it. I can shit on plenty of other Metallica albums, not that one. But it's not the be all end all album that a lot of people think it is, in my opinion. You know, there are better albums out there.
Oh, well, yeah. That's a matter of opinion, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's,
exactly. That's why we're here. It's all a matter of opinion.
Yeah.
Well,
Jared,
that's not actually what I meant when I said, oh, it's the most underrated popular album. I meant underrated kind of with metalheads in certain groups and in the underground. It's the opposite, the other way around. Like with the masses, it's overrated. There are better Metallica albums. Listen to Ride the Lightning.
Yeah, somebody used to listen to Top 40, heard this, like, oh, this is pure metal. And it's like, not really, no.
It depends on who you're talking to.
Down metal.
It's either overrated or underrated, depending on who you're talking to. But it's
that's why I consider it a gateway album.
Yeah.
For people that are not into metal, that kind of was like, whoa, shit, man. Like now I can kind of get, I like this. I got a taste of like heaviness. Let me explore like, you know, what's heavier out there, or whatever. You know, it's
it's like Def Leppard got me into
or I don't like
Metallica.
this.
So
Yeah, it depends. Yeah, some might go, hey, cool, and then they go and listen to like Master of Puppets, and they're like, hey, even better. But then there's some that might listen to Master of Puppets, go, oh no, that's too heavy, that's too raw. Yeah, so it depends on the person, you know, and that's why the Black Album sells the most. You know, plus it just had all that exposure. It was like Hysteria or Rhythm Nation. It was one of these albums that just had like videos for like 2 years, you know, just kept coming on and but that's because they had the tracks. They had these really catchy, melodic, really well produced songs. So, you know, makes sense.
I'm just gonna say I love the Black Album. I'm happy for it because it's a great album. I love it.
It's great for metal still. It's great for hard. You know, they're one of those bands that just has become transcendent to genres. You know, like, you know, I mean, to have a heavy metal album be that iconic now, you know, it's in the company of, I mean, what's the other four? It's Dark Side of the
Moon. Yeah.
I don't know what's the other.
I don't know the other three.
Is it Thriller?
I think the Eagles' greatest hits.
Oh, the Eagles' greatest hits and Thriller probably.
Well, it's albums that have been in the top 200 over 700 weeks. Well, you know, I think like Dark Side of the Moon was kind of the benchmark to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Dark Side's up to 990, I think.
Yeah.
Again.
Before it stopped.
Yeah.
Again, that's the one album where like people will get by Pink Floyd and they'll end by Pink Floyd. That'll be the only album in their collection by Pink Floyd. Certain people that the masses, you know, not people like us, where we explore like discographies and a band's output and all that shit. You know, I don't want to dwell on this too much longer. It's take up long, but it's just one of those albums that just everybody has to have in their collection, and they're good. You know what I mean? So,
that's like, I never understood like people like, I say this all the time, like I don't get people buy Back in Black and then they're like, I'm good. It's like,
yeah, exactly.
like
I got a last story to get to about AC/DC, but we need to get Jerry's opinion on this Black Album.
I mean, no, the Black Album is a fucking classic, but if I never heard it again, I would be okay. That's how I feel about the Black Album.
Because you could key it up in your mind.
No, it's just, you know, I've heard it so much, and there's just I just don't care if I ever hear it again. I agree with Edwin. I think it's the 5th best album they got. I agree the albums prior to that were better, but again, it like Al says, it was a gateway album for a lot of people, and you cannot deny the fucking every band wishes they had an album like that, success like that. So, you know, there's nothing bad to say about it, you know. So, I mean, that's pretty much it. You guys pretty much told, you know. I mean, it was all over the radio. MTV did its purpose back then for Metallica. So, yeah.
Well, I don't want to get your guys' thoughts on this. I just want to get this out real quick. Aliens was released July 18th, 1986, 38 years ago today. So happy anniversary, Aliens.
Love
Great
Looking forward to
fucking
Alien.
movie.
Alien Romulus looks pretty good. I can't wait for that one.
It
man.
does. So let's get to one last story, man. Ex AC/DC singer Dave Evans says he's the superior frontman to Brian Johnson and Bon Scott. Edwin, take that.
Come on, that's he speaks that. I mean, come on. Do we even need to address that? He's obviously.
We'll never know.
I mean, the question is he joking? Or
No. He said
is,
people who
is,
see
is, is he really delusional?
He said people who have seen him live think he's better.
He looks like he belongs in Manowar. I mean,
Listen, there's no way. There's no way.
He's a big dude, though.
I saw like the only. To be fair, the only clip I've ever seen of Dave Evans is that miming performance of "Can I Sit Next to You, Girl." So I never actually saw them live with him. But you could see his stage presence in that video, you know, and it's lame. He's fucking lame. He sucks. Like you watch that and you go, God, AC/DC, God, this guy sucks. No, they got to dump him and get a better singer.
They dodged a bullet.
Yeah, they never were going to break with fucking Dave Evans. They needed Bon Scott, and then they needed Brian Johnson after Bon Scott died. I think he's actually the only one that could have done the job to carry them on. They got very lucky with two great singers, two great frontmen. Most bands never have that. And Dave Evans wasn't one of them. So they were lucky to shake him off.
It reminds me of the Van Halen. He was a Van Halen guy that was in the band for like Mitch Malloy, yeah. He was in the band for like 5 minutes.
That guy
still lives off that.
He ruined Great White too. So I'm just saying. But
yeah. This reminds me of if Blaze Bayley had said he was
no Blaze bashing. No, we don't Blaze.
Blaze bashing is allowed on this show. Come on.
You know what's fucking crazy though? This is the thing, Tim. Blaze Bayley, they actually hired after the fact, like after they had Paul Di'Anno and Bruce Dickinson, whereas Dave Evans was before. That kind of makes sense. Like, oh, we just haven't found a good singer yet. But then Iron Maiden, who were a really big band, grabbed this guy that couldn't sing. It was really weird.
No.
It's like, what are you guys doing? You're a big band. You play like arenas and stadiums.
And better. Yeah.
I'll agree with
this guy. Literally, any of us would have done a better job.
I'll agree with Mark. And the songs off those albums are better sung by Bruce if you ever see him live.
Yeah, I probably other people.
I like Virtual. I do like the two Blaze albums. So you know what.
I probably like
the first one's all right. There's some good songs on it, but he's a shitty singer.
I don't think so. I don't think it's shitty for Iron Maiden. Maybe I don't know.
Well, yeah, it's definitely for Iron Maiden. Maybe if he was in some pub band.
Bruce Dickinson can sing.
Blaze should have tried out for fucking Dream Theater. But Al, what do you think about Dave Evans said he's the best?
Well, Edwin summed it up, but I will say Al Atkins is the real singer of Judas Priest, and Gary Sharon is the true voice of Van Halen.
Oh God, no Gary bashing, man. I love Gary.
Oh, it's hard. I will say this: Gary Sharon technically can sing. It's really annoying when he does it, but he does have range. So. And he was actually he was in a band that had 2 hits, so it wasn't so crazy.
Yeah, 3.
No, you know what's funny? I was watching Chris Sinzak's show. He had Greg Renoff on that wrote Van Halen Rising. I think that's the book he wrote. And he was talking about the Gary Sharon album. Mike Post was just the wrong producer for that album. He didn't produce his vocals correctly. It was just his voice did not sound. I mean, coming off those Extreme albums where he sang great, in my opinion, he didn't sound right on that Van Halen album. The way his voice sounded was strained, and it was almost like Eddie was just trying to tell him to kind of sing like Sammy Hagar or something like that. Try to.
I think that's the problem. I think it's just not. He doesn't have the voice for Van Halen. Like it's not the right voice. He's forcing it. He's doing all this raspy screaming, singing like Sammy Hagar, and it's just not his style. And it sounded very forced.
Yeah, it was forced. It definitely was. Because when I remember hearing that album for the first time, and I'm like, wow, I know Gary sang great on like the Extreme album before this, and it just doesn't sound right on here, man. Like something.
Well, they
something's
fired
going
like
on.
5 producers off that album. It's like,
No, it was Mike Post and Eddie Van Halen.
no,
That-
but they had different producers on that album. They kept firing them and then bringing in another one. And Mike Post was
What
the
album?
last one. Van Halen
I
3.
blame the entire band of Van Halen, because every band, when they're done recording it and everything's mixed and everything's finished, they all sit down together and they listen to it, the
Yeah.
complete album, start to finish. At any point, any member of that band could have said, "This sounds like shit."
Well, Gary
Mike
said it
Anthony-
was Gary said
Mike
it was
Anthony.
rushed.
Michael
and they-
Anthony isn't gonna say anything. Gary Sharon isn't gonna say anything.
well, Gary
Mike
Sharon
Anthony's
did
not
say
even in the room.
Gary Sharon did say that album was rushed, but they worked those songs out on tour that nobody went to.
Yeah, that's what.
But
bands
he
like
also
this
said-
do.
he
The
also
album
said-
fails.
He also said that and I agree with Gary Sharon, is they should have toured first and then did an album.
Yeah.
They should
Yeah,
have.
because then they would have realized he was the wrong singer, and they wouldn't have done it.
Oh, listen.
I will also add, Sammy Hagar didn't have the voice for Van Halen either, but they kept him around for a while.
Yeah. No,
I love
I will say
Sammy.
that Sammy had the voice for what Eddie wanted them to be in the late 80s. Like, you know, it's not what I wanted from Van Halen or a lot, you know, us Dave era fans would want, but it obviously worked for some people. And Sammy Hagar had a certain professionalism and a kind of style of singing because of, you know, Montrose and stuff that could kind of fit corporate, like hard rock. Whereas Gary Sharon just like he was trying. And it was interesting that in a weird way, I kind of felt like he would have been better going more in the Dave direction, because like he had more of a funky thing in Extreme. But maybe it was Eddie's thing. Maybe it's kind of like Tony Iommi, who kind of wanted his singers to sound like Dio more than Ozzy afterwards. You know? So I don't know why, but for whatever reason, they pushed Gary Sharon in the Sammy Hagar direction rather than the Dave direction. He probably would have pulled off more of a jivey thing better than the screaming raspy thing.
Can I just interject here, Eddie, real quick? Because you just said, well, you know, it's what Eddie wanted. Sammy is what Eddie wanted in the late 80s. It's not what we DLR fans, and I am a DLR VH fan more than a Sammy fan. Don't get it twisted here. I do like some of the Sammy stuff, but I am a DLR guy, VH. To me, that's the prime Van Halen. There's no other, you know, besides that. They made some good stuff with Sammy. I like, but some people disagree, and that's fine, dude. But like you said, us DLR, you know, purists, listen, they could have got any singer and it would have been the same thing. The DLR purists would have never accepted it anyway.
Yeah,
so
he's
it doesn't matter,
guy to
dude.
follow, because it's not just about singing.
It is, but he's the greatest front man. He was the greatest front man and
Wow.
personality in the 80s, dude.
I don't know. Van Halen, I don't know. If they'd have gotten, say, Ronnie James Dio, yeah.
You
I'd
know,
give
you
him
know
a
who
shot.
I actually think
If they'd have gotten, say, Jeff Tate,
Jeff,
give him a shot.
you know, actually, I always said this. I always thought maybe it's just too big ego, so it would have never worked. I mean, that's another thing. I think Eddie didn't want another star. You know, obviously Sammy did have an ego to a degree, but you know, not compared to David Lee Roth, at least not at that time. I mean, he got one after Van Halen was successful with him for sure. But I think if you're looking at what Eddie is trying to create, the kind of music, the slicker kind of pop rock that he's trying to create, and if you look at a really amazing singer that was probably the greatest pop rock singer who had just left his band and had a solo career, I think Steve Perry. I was just thinking that. Think of Steve Perry singing like Dreams. Like, I have chills when I even think that. Like, you know, like he would kind of take it to that next level. Like Sammy,
I would have to hear that. To me, it sounds like, you know, it does not sound good, but I'd have to hear
all the
it.
ballads, all the synthesizers. To me, that's Van Hagar is kind of like, especially in the late 80s,
Well,
kind of
good
like
point,
like lesser
Good point.
Journey to me. And the reason why they're lesser Journey is because they don't have Steve Perry.
All right,
Okay.
guys. Let's go. You have anything to say about Dan Evans, Jerry?
We're getting off tangent.
Yeah, we're getting off tangent. So, Jerry, anything about Dan
What?
Evans? Then we could go.
Nope.
Then start the show, man.
All right.
Do it.
All right.
Cocaine.
Let's do our 11 coked out, drugged out, or whatever the hell we decided on doing. Hopefully they're going to be mostly coked out albums. So let's start with the guy who came up with it. Edwin, man, what's your number 11?
Well, it's interesting because Mark Allen Taylor, the man himself, when he posted something, of course, he went with the Rick James joke, cocaine is a hell of a drug, perhaps the greatest quote ever about cocaine. And it was great because it was actually Rick James saying it, not the, Dave Chappelle doing the character. Not that I don't love Dave Chappelle, I do, but it was so awesome that you had in that skit, probably the greatest comedy skit of all time, you had R.I.P. Charlie Murphy, the great Charlie Murphy. But in that skit, you had actually older Rick James when he was still alive, was being Rick James, and that's when he said the line. I bring this up because, of course, Rick James had to be on my list because all Rick James albums are coke albums to varying degrees. The one I picked is probably one of his lesser known albums. It's from 1985, but to me, it's the cokiest. Is an album he put out called Glow from 1985. Same year he did produce the Eddie Murphy hit, My Girl Likes to Party All the Time. I have the song right now, the lead off song from it on Facebook. Can't Stop. To me, Can't Stop is the ultimate coke song. This might be number 11 as the album, but the number one song would be Can't Stop. It's like, it would fit like a Scarface montage. It'd be perfect for it. It's just coked up pop rock R&B. It's kind of a mix, and it's very mid 80s. It's got the keyboard, it's got crazy guitar. Rick James go, can't stop. It's just very cokey. That's all I can describe it. The whole album has a very slick sound to it. He dyed his hair blonde. The whole vibe's just cokey. It just feels like he's doing cokey stuff, and it's just it's great. It's not one of his better albums, but I like it. But in terms of coke albums, it's definitely his cokiest. So number 11, Rick James, Glow.
Cool. Tim, what do you got?
Well, when Mark told me about this, the first band I thought of, and the first album from this band I thought of, is my first one that I'm gonna lay down. They are supposedly a band from Boston, but they're not. They're a band from New Hampshire.
Oh.
We might all have this album on here, maybe.
Aerosmith, Toys in the Attic.
Oh no, not the one I have.
They had to do You See Me Crying 35 times because Tyler could only sing one line at a time because he was so coked out. So they did literally line by line for that song.
All right. Al, what do you got?
Well, since Kiss wasn't brought up yet on this show,
Oh,
I'm going Kiss the Elder because
the Elder. You want the Elder?
I'm going the Elder because supposedly Bob Ezrin was at the peak of his coke taking. There was mounds of coke on the console by that point, and he was in the throes of like cocaine use and stuff. And Ace Frehley's quoted, "Escape from the Island," which is the instrumental on the album. He quoted that on Eddie Trunk's show one time, and I was listening to it. He says, "Yeah, when I recorded that song, I was on the marching powder." So, yeah, dude, that's just a coked up. To me, that's just a band with no direction at that point, following a coked up producer's suggestions, and to me, that's a coke album. Even though Paul and Gene don't do it, it doesn't matter. It was influenced by a fucking coke fueled producer, and pretty much Ace Frehley was probably coked out of his head by that point. You know what I mean? So
I'm sure Peter partook in some too.
well, Peter wasn't on that album though, so that was Eric Carson.
I'm sure he's around the studio.
Kiss always sneaks its way into this damn show.
Lou Reed.
Well, dude, I mean, it is a coke album in my opinion. Though.
I know. I'm just joking. It's a joke.
No, it's a great choice. Lou Reed also wrote lyrics, and he was probably coked up too when he wrote lyrics.
Well, I associate Lou Reed more with heroin, but yeah, he probably would. He probably
early '80s. He probably switched to cocaine.
Yeah, the '80s. Yeah, he switched it up. He was probably tired of being down. He wanted to get up.
It's the '80s now. No more junk, man. I'm a cokehead now.
That's my number 11. Kiss the Elder.
Good choice.
All right, Mark, what do you got, man?
You ever heard the song Golden Years by David Bowie? Maybe this is my new wave album on here. Fucking Station to Station.
Station to station.
Right on, yeah.
Fucking great album. Oh my God. I know one of you guys are going to have Alice Cooper on here. If you don't,
You can put that or Heroes, either one of those.
I'm not
albums. I think
counting
David was
crack.
pretty,
That's what, I'm not counting crack cocaine, by the way, just cocaine.
Oh,
but
okay.
it would be better than heroin. If you want with crack, it would be better than heroin.
All
But
right,
I was
so
being real furious about it, so I didn't even count crack.
I'm
That's
going to
why
sta-
Cooper's not here.
Station to Station, David Bowie, man.
Yeah, good choice. So you might hear me talk about it later.
All right, yeah, I'm going to pick the good old America's Nice Guys, the Beach Boys, and Smile. Holy shit, dude! I was reading into that today.
I'll be right back.
I never thought Brian Wilson was, but he was a partier, I guess you call him.
Yeah, well,
I
that
know,
was,
but
it was LSD mainly.
No. I read it. There was coke. He did say coke in the
coke
article. That's why I put it on. I mean,
I'm sure he
back
mixed.
then, yeah, I'm sure it was mixed with everything back then. From what I understand, it's just weird because you associate the Beach Boys, or at least the last, I don't know, 30 plus years with songs like Kokomo and shit like that. You never go back further and see them as druggies. You know what I mean? It's like wow,
yeah.
you know.
Yeah, Brian and Dennis were both big druggies.
Yeah.
And they were the
It's
two
just
most talented.
creative forces. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that still blows my mind when I think about it. So, anyway, that's my number 11. Let's go with your number 10, Edwin.
Okay, my number 10 is this is like we're getting into new wave here. This band, the first three albums are all very cokey, but the third one, it's 1983's Whammy by the B-52s. That to me is the cokiest of all their cokey albums. It literally has fucking cocaine on the album cover. Look at the album cover. Google B-52's Whammy.
I have it on vinyl.
That's
It's
awesome.
packed, but I have it.
Yeah, it's got a dog sniffing up the cocaine on the ground. They say it's flour. Yeah, whatever. And the album, the way the album cover looks is how it sounds. It's very cokey. They're obviously like ripping off Devo because they're shifting.
Is
their
it
garage
Quiche
rock-
Lorraine on that one?
What?
Quiche Lorraine, is that on that one?
Yeah, it's his last one.
About the poodle. All right, go ahead.
Yeah, and so it's kind of the last classic B-52s with the original lineup, and it's kind of the last kind of one. But they went into kind of more of a mainstream kind of polished direction afterwards. So this is kind of, to me, it's like a trilogy, the first three albums. But this one, whereas the first two have a more guitar-driven garage rock sound, they're totally fucking ripping off Devo and bringing in a lot of synthesizers. It's very synthesizer friendly, and that in itself kind of brings out the cocaine vibe to it. It's just there's these synthesizers. Great first song is a legal tender about counterfeiting. So 80s synthesizers singing songs about counterfeiting money, and it's just very very fucking coked up sounding. And yeah, it's Whammy. The song Whammy Kiss is very coked up, and it's just like you could just feel you get a cocaine contact high from this album. It's so fucking cokey. So B-52's Whammy, number 10.
Great album, Edwin.
Yeah.
Jerry, you muted.
Tim, what do you got, man?
All right. Well, since Jerry picked my number 1 vanilla band, I'm going to pick my number 2 vanilla band from across the pond, the Beatles, Revolver.
Fuck.
That was made by nothing but coke. Which I didn't know the Beatles were really into coke all that much, but apparently they were.
Interesting. Yeah, I knew that they experiment with acid and pot. I didn't know coke was also mixed in.
Oh,
But
yeah,
I can kind of hear it though. Thinking about it.
Well, I heard stories about people not knowing them sticking it like cocaine in their tea and shit like that during that. You know,
Yeah, I can
something
kind of
like
hear it. Yeah, Revolver sounds, now that I think about it, it's a little cokey sounding. Yeah, especially like the rock songs.
It might be a little higher on my list.
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah. Like, and your bird can sing. Yeah, that's kind of cokey. Yeah.
All right, Al, what do you got, man?
All right, number 10 might be a mixture of things, but I'll quote a line from one of the songs on the album. There's a song called Car Thief. You'll be doing those candy off the Bowie Coke mirror. My girl asked for some, but I pretended not to hear her. Edwin, you know that one?
Yeah, of course.
Beastie Boys.
Yeah,
Beastie Boys, Paul's Boutique.
Paul's Boutique. It's one of my favorite albums. Those people.
Yeah, dude. I now
They were
it's-
mixing it with Chiba, so that's why it didn't make my list because I'm a purist.
Yes.
But I thought of it because it is very cokey.
It is
is
cokey.
very cokey.
I
And
think-
I think Ad Rock and Mike D were just doing coke, but MCA was doing a lot of fucking Chiba.
Yeah.
So,
Hey, Jerry,
and
you know we're gonna do a review on Paul's Boutique one day. It's got to happen. Just saying.
you
Oh,
gotta have
dude.
me on that episode. Paul's Boutique's.
I think you should have me too.
It's my second
Yeah,
favorite.
you and
hip-hop album of
Eddie
all
are on
time.
that episode.
Yeah.
Listen, for me, and this is my opinion, Paul's Boutique to me is the Sergeant Pepper of hip hop.
It is. They even sampled Sergeant Pepper.
I always attribute it to that. You know, like
Yeah.
whenever you listen to that, there's so many layers on that album, the Dust Brothers, you know, and all that. I mean, I can hear something new almost every time I hear that album.
Fuck yeah.
They can never make an album like that now because it costs millions of dollars to make to clear all those samples. You know, they can never make an album like that.
They
now,
couldn't.
so
It wouldn't be allowed now. But yeah,
it wouldn't be allowed. You know. So anyway, number 10, Paul's Boutique. I think to me that was probably like the peak of their coke taking year, man. So
you ever hear like "Hey Ladies," Shadrach? It's all very
lady.
It's very high energy.
The
So that's
cowbell,
my 10.
man. Cowbell. We love cowbell.
Yeah, cowbells are very cokey.
Cowbell. we love cowbell.
That's Peter
That's my
Chris.
10.
Peter
Paul's
Chris,
Boutique.
king of the coked up cowbell.
All right, Mark, what do you got?
Number 10, Deep Purple, Come Taste the Band.
Yeah, that's a good choice. It's very
That's a fucking coked out album, man. It's fucking amazing.
Glenn Hughes. Yeah,
I fucking love this album. I want to review this one too. I fucking love
Great
Glenn
album.
Hughes.
Yeah, I love that album. That's my third favorite Deep Purple album.
It's one of the, you know, fucking, they lost. Well, who was the guitar player on that album?
Tommy Bolin.
Tommy Bolin, right?
Tommy Bolin.
Fucking, it's
Yeah,
good, some good
he
shit,
was all
man.
coked up too. They were
Oh
all-
yeah, he was fucking coked up as shit, but those leads are amazing.
Oh, he's amazing. He's amazing. That guy.
Amazing.
His solo albums were good too. His first two.
Yeah.
Geezer.
Yeah,
All right, so that's my number 10, Deep Purple, Come Taste the Band.
good choice. Good choice. I didn't actually think of that one. That's a good choice. It's very cokey. I like it. It's got good coke energy.
My next one, I actually have Station to Station 2 from David Bowie. Who would have thought that David Bowie could hang with the bad boys in the 70s partying, man? He was a fucking partier himself, man.
Dude, he was a master.
Yeah,
Or he was
mean,
better than all of them.
I'm telling you, I think he was. He's probably the best coke
He was
taker in the 70s.
He was
Underrated
the ninja. He was the
coker.
ninja.
Yeah, exactly. Like I said, he either picked that one or Heroes. From what I hear, those two albums, man, he was like fucking just total
Berlin
cokehead, man,
period,
those
you
two
know?
albums. Yeah, great albums too, by the way.
Oh, it's my favorite era of Bowie.
Oh yeah, amazing stuff.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I love David Bowie. Again, we should use some Bowie albums in the future too. Mark,
Oh
because-
yeah, man. I'm up to do Bowie.
yeah, absolutely
Always.
great. All right, number 9, Edwin.
Okay, this to me is easily the cokiest thrash album of all time. All right, it's so fucking cokey, and yes, the band were doing a lot of fucking coke. What do you know? What do you know? That band do a lot of fucking coke, make cokey albums. I'm talking about, and it's a very underrated album in my opinion. I love it. Some people hate it. Yeah, it has a shitty cover of a Sex Pistols song, but the rest of it is
I know what you're doing now.
Megadeth. So far, so good. So what? I'm doing a fucking lot of coke.
Oh god, that's a good one, man.
Hey, Bush is
It
getting
is
a hard on
so
right now.
fucking cokey, especially if you listen to the original Murky Mix, and not that shitty remix they did years later. The original Murky Mix, it is so fucked up sounding. Everything, just the way the album sounds, to the energy, the way Dave's singing, everything about it sounds like a fucking cocaine train wreck. But that's what I love about it. The album's raw and messy.
One of my
and
favorites on him, though.
not all controlled, the way thrash and a lot of metal music would get years later when it gets all put in a box and like you lose that messiness, you know? And that's one of the things I love about this album. Like even Megadeth themselves, they would especially once Dave found God and kicked drugs, he would never do an album this messy again. It's just a fucking messy train wreck thrash album for a lot of great songs. Has also, In My Darkest Hour, which I think is the greatest Megadeth song.
Oh, me too.
Yeah, I fucking love this album.
That's their
Yeah,
masterpiece.
the Anarchy in the UK is shitty. I don't
Nobody's done that song good. I don't
Yeah.
even like the original. So there you go.
I think
Motley
it's actually
Crue's was
one
the
of the
worst,
weaker
though.
Sex Pistol songs, actually. So I actually am with you with that hot take, but it's all right. I mean, the Sex Pistols did do the best version, but it's not. It's never been one of my favorite songs.
No.
And Megadeth, it's just you didn't need it. Throw that cover away. Everything else, all the original material, it's all fucking great. Mary Jane, there's a lot of fucking great songs on it. I love this fucking album. It might be my like third favorite Megadeth album. It's up there. I think it's great. But anyway, it's very fucking cokey.
I think because it's between Peace Cells and Rust in Peace.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
gets
I
lost
really
in
like.
it.
Maybe I might even put the first one ahead of it. So maybe it's like my fourth favorite. But it's really great. And Dave was so fucking coked up that he fired the first producer because he saw him feeding a deer an apple, and that seemed like fucked up. That seemed like pussy hippie shit to him. So he was like all coked up. He was so coked up that he didn't want a producer that was doing pussy hippie shit.
Hey, I agree with him. I hate hippies. So there, I agree with that.
Oh man.
So there you go.
Awesome. All right, Tim.
All right, my ninth album.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta go back across the pond again. The ultimate heavy metal band, the creators of heavy metal, Edwin Shirt.
Edwin Shirt.
I'll be surprised if this isn't on everyone's list. That's all I'm saying. I figured this would be number one on everyone's list. Station, maybe.
No, there's one. I think that's going to be a little higher in my opinion than that one. But
yeah, I have one. I thought maybe that was.
one.
I thought my number one would be your number one.
God, dude, man, I'm surprised it's that low, Tim. God, that's fucking the ultimate cocaine album.
Mine's a lot higher than his.
I was going to ask Tim, like, what order is he going in? Is he going from 1 to 11?
Is there an order, Tim, or is this kind of random?
No, this is random. I just put down
I see.
albums.
Okay, I should say yeah. Okay, that makes sense then. My
Okay,
order
rank 'em.
is specifically how cokey they get.
Oh no,
Yeah,
not mine. No.
I was going to say,
I'll
because
take
it doesn't
basic.
sound like it's in any order. So
Yeah, because Volume 4 should be higher. If
Mine's
if
in an
if
order.
we're going cokey.
Yeah.
all right, so Mark or Al, I'm sorry, excuse me.
Al. Yeah.
well, so Edwin mentioned a certain thrash band. I'm going with another thrash band. At the time, to me, this is like their Coke album, and they even have a Coke anthem on it. Chop Your Breakfast on a Mirror. Master of Puppets by Metallica, dude.
Yeah.
I think that Lars has gone on record saying like he was in the throes of Coke at the time, and it started a whole few years of like
I didn't know that. That's like, fuck. That would have been a great pick. Great
having a
pick,
Coke
man.
addiction, man. Like Lars was the worst out of the bunch. I think he's even admitted it. James is more of a drinker, but Lars was the Coke guy, and that album is, I mean, Master of Puppets. That's an anthem for Coke, man. Cocaine just kind of taking over your life. So
Actually, it's not an anthem for Coke. It's an anthem for don't do drugs.
well, but Chop Your Breakfast on a Mirror. That's just kind of that's a
or else
Coke
you
thing,
will be
but-
chopping your breakfast on the mirror because
Yeah.
you will be the puppet.
yeah.
But he was all coked up and thinking that while he was doing it, while Lars was writing that with James.
While he was doing nose candy off the Bowie Coke mirror.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't actually know that so much. But hearing it now, yeah, I can kind of hear it. Yeah, it's kind of a cokey vibe to Master of Puppets. Now that I think about it, batteries, very cokey.
I was almost gonna put the Load Reload albums because that's why when they were in the ridiculous, like We Are Gods and we could fucking shit on an album and do anything we want.
Yeah, that sounds more like Flat Miller Light and marijuana.
Yeah, well, I figured I'd go at the start of the Coke phase, Master of Puppets. So
good choice.
that's my number 9.
All right, Mark.
I don't think if anybody picks this album, I'd be surprised. I think Tim would probably be one who would pick this album, but I'm not sure. Maybe Al. Traffic, Mr. Fantasy. That
That
album
sounds
is.
cokey. I never heard it, but it sounds
You
cokey.
never heard "Dear Mr. Fantasy"?
No, I gotta check it out.
Steve
I haven't
Winwood,
listened- well,
dude.
That's Steve Winwood's.
Steve Winwood, Al Capaldi. It's fucking great shit. Traffic is.
I know a couple of their songs. What's their biggest song? I know like probably their biggest song or two. I've
Dude,
heard some.
Dear
of it.
Mr. Fantasy, I think is one of their biggest hits.
Maybe I do know it then. Maybe I have.
I would think, well, Edwin, I would think you would like Traffic actually. They're
Yeah,
great.
I think you would love Traffic.
I love a
dude.
lot of mid-60s stuff. I love Cream. I love like the Yardbirds.
You like Blind Faith and stuff?
Yeah. I
Oh,
like
Traffic is kind of
I
Blind
know, believe,
Faithy.
I know a lot of this albums he's played on. Like he's played on a lot of albums I like. Yeah, I never really dived into his shit though. But yeah, I probably would be into Traffic. Like I just
Yeah, Spencer Davis
That's
group. He
not-
did "Give Me Some Lovin' at 16."
I
with
know that
voice.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah,
God, what
yeah,
a
no,
great
he's great
singer.
voice, great organist. Yeah, I just like, sometimes there's a few blind spots in your discographies that you're
course,
diving into.
There's not a
Yeah.
bad Traffic album. They're all good.
Yeah, I'd probably be into them. With my taste, yeah, I'd probably like them. So I'm gonna deep dive
Number
Traffic.
9, Mr. Fantasy.
Good choice, even though I may or may not know the song.
Yeah, all right. My number 9 is well, coke and fucking heroin almost just totally destroyed this band in a certain amount of time. I'm talking about the Pretenders' second album.
Ooh.
They fired Pete Farnon because he was a terrible druggie. I mean, he was really bad. They couldn't get help for him. And then a little while after they fired him, their guitarist, shit. What the hell is his name?
Of who?
Pretenders.
Oh,
James Honeyman Scott. Yeah. It lost him to a drug overdose, a mixture of coke, alcohol, and there's heroin involved in that as well. Just a tragic fucking year that band had, man. It was a great album too, the Pretenders too, by the way. Message of Love, Talk of the Town, great tunes off it. But however, it actually led to their most successful album, Learning to Crawl, a couple years later, which is Chrissy wrote a lot about, the experience of that time period. And yeah, I mean, it's a shame what I think the Pretenders probably would have been bigger if James Honeyman Scott was still alive, because I thought he was a talent, man. He was a great guitar player, and
Yeah, I like their first two albums the best.
yeah.
Yeah.
But man, it's like, in like Farndon, man, that guy was like total. I mean, I don't know if actually he's still alive or not, but I know that guy had some serious fucking coke and heroin.
This is the guy that was dating Chrissy Hind in the band. Was it the bass player or the guitarist?
I don't think anybody was dating her in the band, were they?
It
I
had to
remember that.
There's always one guy.
Yeah, they were.
True. Yeah. But yeah, Chrissy's cool. I always loved her, man. She was a cool chick. But yeah, it's a tragic time for them, and it made good music. The Pretenders' second album was pretty fucking good. So
yeah, I like that album. Yeah, a lot.
Yeah.
That kind of sandwich between the first one and the third one gets ignored, but I actually like the second one. It's hard rocking. Could I point out that when Mark's not sitting on his chair, his picture looks like an art project. It's this black leather chair with cocaine around it. It's great. I'm just saying, Mark, I really like the image when you walk away from it. It's this black chair with cocaine around it. It's very cool.
Oh, cool.
I want it as my my
it's
desk.
Tony Montana.
That's cool.
All right, Edwin, what do you got for number 8?
Okay, number 8. This is my one entry that's a jazz entry. And it's fucking cokiest jazz album of all time. Fusion, technically, which works better for us. Okay, now Miles Davis, who I'm a big fan of, was doing a lot of cocaine throughout his fusion period. Fusion itself is a genre that I think is very cokey. It's a very cokey genre if you ever listen to fusion. But this was the peak. This is the peak of his fusion period, and it's the peak of his cocaine use, as documented. He had a bad car accident because he was all fucked up on cocaine during this time period. I am talking about Miles Davis's 1973 very funky fusion masterpiece, On the Corner. On the Corner, amazing album, very repetitious kind of funk grooves inspired by James Brown. It's very cokey. The energy is very cokey on it. And I just want to digress a little bit with a Miles Davis story because it is the greatest cocaine story of all time. Miles Davis, in his autobiography, I remember reading this, recounted this year when he made this album. He was on so much cocaine that on a regular basis. That he said he was driving his sports car around New York City, and it was winter time, and he got into his car and he was driving around, and there was a little bit of snow in the passenger seat that was on the ground, and in his paranoid coked up state, he was convinced it was coke and the cops had planted there and they were going to bust him. So he parks his car and he runs out of his car into a building because he's worried that the cops are going to get him, and he goes into an elevator in this building. So he's in this elevator with this woman he doesn't know. He's in the elevator and they're going up. And suddenly in his coked up state, he forgets that he did all this and he thinks he's in his car. And he turns to the woman and goes, "What are you doing in my car, bitch?" And he slaps her.
Yeah.
Miles Davis actually tells this story. It's an autobiography.
Oh my God.
And he's giving it as an example of how fucking coked up he was. Well, when you listen to this album, it sounds like that's the state that the band leader's in. It is very fucking cokey. It's fucking awesome. So Miles Davis on the corner. He's a fucking cocaine legend.
All right, Tim, what do you got?
All right, my next album is American band. They were huge in the 70s. And they're one of my personal favorites. And I'm gonna slingshot off at Edwin's jazz reference here for a minute. They're a jazz rock fusion type thing. One of the members literally died from doing too much drugs, mostly cocaine. I'm talking about Steely Dan with Aja, or Asia, depending on how you want to say it.
I always thought it was Aja. Aja.
Yeah, very.
But yeah, it was
Steely
it didn't
Dan,
sound
very
like it didn't sound like a coked up album because it wasn't very fast, but then again, Steely Dan wasn't very fast. You know, they didn't have 20 beats
By
per
the way, I
minute.
love that band. There you go.
But that was a coked up album, and both of them, both Fagan and Becker admitted it that yeah, they were using a lot of blow making that. So I don't see where if you listen to it start to finish, you don't. I mean, they have a lot of different coke lyrics.
So you're talking about
in their
Becker
song.
that died?
Yeah, Becker.
Well, he
passed.
died much later on, though. Like, so I guess
Yeah.
he never gave
Yeah,
up.
but he had
drugs,
complications from using the drugs that
Okay,
caught up with him later on and
caught up with him later on. Okay,
killed him.
gotcha.
you
Yeah,
know.
it has a coke energy. Yeah, the songs aren't that fast, but there is like a focused energy
Yeah.
that's a little cokey.
And plus, they write lyrics about drugs, all kinds of different drugs that they
Yeah.
were on.
Alcohol, big black cow.
You know.
Nah.
Oh,
Love
that's
that
a
song.
drink.
I love that
Black
song.
cow, that's a drink.
I know, but I love it.
That was a popular
Right.
drink in the 70s.
All right,
But,
what do you got? Are you done?
know.
Sorry, Tim.
Yeah, I'm done.
Al.
What are we on number 8, right?
Yep.
Fleetwood Mac, but probably not the album that people are normally going to think of. I'm going to go with the follow-up, Tusk.
Ah, it's a good one too.
I think they were in the absolute throes of cocaine use. Although, it was on Rumors too. Don't get me wrong. But Tusk, double album, cost over $1 million to make in 1979, which is astronomical now. That's probably the equivalent of like $6-7 million to make an album. It's just
And they
ridiculous.
said they spent half of it on coke. So
Oh, well, there
it
you
was
go.
double the coke of Rumors too. So
Yeah. So
picking wisely.
I do like Tusk, but at the time it was just an overindulgence, bloated, kind of album, dude. Just
Really, I still think it's their best album.
Oh well, I'm not going to disagree with you, dude. I just think following Rumors though, and it didn't sell as much as Rumors. And people, like Rumors sells 10 million, Tusk only sells 2 million. It's a failure,
Right.
You know what I mean? So shit, 2 million. If bands had $2 million failures now, 2 million album sale failures. I mean, that'd be great. You know what I mean? But yeah, Tusk, man, number 8 for me, Fleetwood Mac.
All right, Mark.
I'm gonna go with my favorite album by this band, and everybody I think Brian Davis agrees with me. I'm not sure. I don't want to put words in his mouth, but fucking Aerosmith, Draw the Line. My favorite Aerosmith song of all time is Kings and Queens. Draw the Line's fucking great. I like Milk Cow Blues. I like this whole fucking album. It's fucking amazing. They were fucking coked the fuck out on this album. But it's fucking amazing. It's my favorite album by Aerosmith, Draw the Line. My number 8.
Draw the Line's your favorite Aerosmith album?
Yes.
Cool. It's different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got like 4 Aerosmith albums I can choose from.
Yeah.
I love Draw the Line.
I'm gonna be talking about Aerosmith.
Aerosmith.
I think Brian Davis agrees with me. I'm not sure, Brian. If you're watching this, text me.
It's a great album. Maybe I'll talk about it later. We'll see.
Perhaps.
All right. My next pick is, well, there was a member of this band that did not like the way the direction of the band was going, and he decided to indulge deeply into cocaine at the time during the recording of this album because the album is terrible. It's talk about Kilroy was here from Styx, Tommy Shaw.
I like that album.
Tommy Shaw admitted in this, man, that he was fucking just wasted on coke during that. He said he had no.
Can I say something? That is a great pick. Great.
He said
pick,
he had no music freedom. So what do? Just fucking sit back and do some fucking coke, and that's what he did, man. And he was right. I thought the album was terrible. Maybe 1 or 2 good songs on it, but yeah, you don't think about Styx and coke, but Tommy was a pretty good user back then. So I'm picking it just because I agree with Tommy about doing coke on that album. It was horrible. That's why I picked that one. So Styx, Kilroy Was Here is my number.
I like Kilroy Was Here, man. The Dennis songs are amazing, and Heavy Metal Poisoning. I love that song. But yeah.
And then you got like Double Time and High Times and just
yeah,
totally
but
ruined it.
You got Best of Times. You got fucking Heavy Metal.
Best of Times ain't on there.
I like what's the song on there? Don't Let It In.
Don't Let It In.
Don't Let It In.
Whatever.
I love Don't Let It In. I love Heavy Metal Poisoning. I fucking love every Dennis song on there. I do like some Tommy Shaw.
I remember back in the day, I heard that song, Don't Let It End, one time on the radio, and I was already tired of it.
It was so terrible. He actually did a reprise.
I talk about commercial. Oh my God.
You know what? Dennis's songs made them money, though, in a way. So, whatever. I mean, I get what Tommy's saying, but Dennis made the money for the band, I think. So, with his dudes. But anyway,
Babe Alone.
Yeah. Okay, enough of that shit. Let's go with number 7, Edwin.
All right, this is a band, like a couple of these bands we're talking about, kind of like all their albums are cokey albums to a degree. And we're getting back to the new wave, which to me is a very cokey genre.
Yeah,
but if I think about they were doing a shit ton of cocaine during this album, but they might have done even more in subsequent albums. But to me, if this is like a mixture of both the fact that they're doing cocaine and the album sounds very cokey, and it would be a great album to do cocaine to. And it's their biggest album, commercially speaking. I'm talking about Devo, Freedom of Choice, 1980.
Never would even thought about them being a coke band.
That's a great fucking album, dude.
I can see
Devo was doing a lot of fucking coke. Now
I can hear it.
Devo is fucking cokey.
They were very cokey. And,
we are not men, we are Devo.
Yeah, they were very into at this point they were getting very cokey. And even has a song Snowball, which is kind of like Sabbath's Snowblind. It's Devo's coke song. Snowball's a coke song. And the whole album, right from the beginning, with the synthesizers of The Girl You Want, it just instantly hits you with a cokey energy. And it never stops. It never stops. Yeah, it keeps up that cokey energy from beginning to end. It's everything about it, the way the synths sound, the way they're singing in a kind of jerky style. It's very focused. Whereas the first 2 albums are eclectic musically and they kind of have different styles. This is very fucking focused. It's like a kind of like a synth pop version of the Ramones. It's like where every song is kind of similar, but has that energy, and it just keeps up. All the songs are kind of short, like 3 minutes. And yeah, to me, it's like it's a great fucking Coke album. I love it. And yeah, I would say it's the cokiest sounding of all the Devo albums. So there you go, freedom of choice.
All right, Tim, what do you
All
got?
right. I'm going back across the pond. One of the biggest selling bands of all time ever, period. End of story. They've had they started off as a blues band and then went into more commercial viable rock and roll. They've had a lot of different, well, not a lot, but a few different member changes over the years, and they've been doing it for, Jesus Christ, it's got to be 50 years now. We're talking about the Rolling Stones and Exile on Main Street.
That
might show up later.
That might show up later.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, great.
I think it's what kept Keith alive back then was the fucking cocaine, man. I don't know.
But yeah, because he was also doing heroin. So he hit the heroin, bring it down, and the Coke brought him up.
Yeah, right.
That guy's a marvel of science.
Cocaine and cigarettes kept him
And
alive.
the cigarettes. There were also the
The fucker
cigarettes.
still smokes, don't he? I think he still smokes.
Oh yeah, he
Unreal.
does.
Yep.
It's fucking real. All right, Al, what do you got, man?
I'm going with now I could have picked a different album by them, but in the liner notes of this album, they thank Krell, which is a slang term for cocaine. Motley Crue, Shout the Devil.
Now, good one.
Now
That might show up too.
I was gonna pick Girls, but I think that is more of a heroin. That's when Nikki Sixx was in the throes of heroin, or so he says.
But I was bouncing. I didn't actually pick either, but I was kind of in my head. I was bouncing between Shout and Theater, because Theater.
I was gonna pick. I was
Theater
toying
sounds
with
very
Theater
cokey
as
to
well.
me.
I was toying with Theater as well. Because
What
Shout
made you
is
go
such
Shout?
because Shout is such a strong album, but it's definitely like they were definitely fucking doing mounds of blow. And even Tommy said, when they were touring with Ozzy, they were just doing mountains of fucking blow at that time,
We're
dude.
snorting ants with
Yeah.
Ozzy.
Well,
Yeah, Red Hot does sound very cool.
oh yeah, dude.
Yeah.
It's just that's a Coke album, dude. And they thank Coke in the liner notes by calling it Krell, which was a slang term for Coke. So that's my number. What are we at? 7?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's my 7. Motley Crue, Shout the Devil.
All right, Mark, you're up next.
An album that my ex co-host on Freeform never wanted to do, but I did this on the Rock All Over You podcast. The Doors. That album is totally cocaine fueled. I love that fucking album. Again, talking about running to rape his mom. God damn. That is a fucking he's fucked up.
But they're mixing. There's acid too, though. That's
but they were doing mainly
And drinking,
cocaine
too.
on that album. Acid was next.
and drinking. Yeah, I did do a lot, but yeah, there's some coke in there. Yeah,
There's a lot of coke on that album. I fucking love the Doors debut album. Fucking rules.
Yeah,
So that's my number 7.
LA in the 60s, man.
Yeah.
hell of a time.
All right.
Fucking-
When you think of this guy, you think of LSD and psychedelic music and all that. But according to David Gilmour and Rick Wright, when Syd Barrett was recording the Madcap Laughs, cocaine was the fucking drug of choice for that album. And you can tell by the songs on it, man. They're very fucking hyper and fucking they're out there. I mean, there's genius and there's like complete anarchy on that album. And I actually kind of like it, so it's good. But
I
according
love
to
that album. I think it's great.
I mean, yeah, but according to Rick and David, that back at that time, coke. I mean, the fucking LSD was still around, and he was pretty much almost gone by then anyway. I mean, it's amazing he actually got 2 albums out, believe it or not.
Yeah.
At least in my
Well,
opinion.
David Gilmour helped out a lot, man.
Yeah, I think all 3 of them did. I think even Roger helped out a little bit at some part. I don't know, but that you can tell it's a very cokey songs on that, like Octopus and shit like that. Just yeah, very weird. It's cool though. It's good music though. It's like I said, drugs help, I think, sometimes. So anyway, That's my number 7, Sid Barrett, the Madcap Les. Number 6, Edwin.
My number 6, again, a new wave band, same contemporaries of Devo, same period, lots of fucking cocaine. And they talked about both their lead singer, the whole band, David Byrne, was doing a lot of cocaine. This is also my favorite album from them. I'm talking about Talking Heads, Fear of Music.
Oh,
Very fucking cokey. Just made my
Great
top
album.
5. Very great album. I hear most people say songs about about buildings and food, which is great. That's my second favorite. But to me, I'm a Fear of Music guy. I think that's their best album. Has like I Zimba and Memories Can't Wait, which is probably their heaviest song. Living Color did a good cover of it, but I like the original best. Also, probably Life During Wartime is probably the song that's most known from it. It's a very cokey, funky, neurotic album. Like you listen to it and it sounds like you could picture David Byrne like
This
hanging
ain't no
out.
party. This
Yeah.
ain't no disco.
You could picture him in like some New York loft somewhere in the early 80s, manically talking to people about shit. Like it just has that vibe in the way the band plays.
Mirror, you know, basically talking to the mirror. You know?
It's got that vibe. It's just got the whole vibe. The last song on the album is actually called Drugs. The whole album is very, very fucking cokey. I was saying, Jerry, Talking Heads Fear of Music. It's very cokey album. And their best, in my opinion. It's a great album and has big time coke energy being fueled by cocaine.
Again, a band, you just don't think about them in a coke. I guess
They
maybe in the
played
70s, maybe.
CBGBs,
But now that you
dude.
think about it, though, that's the thing.
CBGBs,
Think
they were
about
cool.
cocaine, and then look at David Byrne and how he's like acting, and then suddenly it makes sense. Dude's always fucking sweating.
I mean,
bullets.
the bass player and guitarist, they were like in the Tom Tom Club together, right?
They were doing
Yeah.
coke too, though. Yeah.
I mean, you just don't think of that as being a heavy coke, but I guess so. If you think about it, you mentioned CBGBs and all that shit, so I can.
Oh yeah,
definitely
they were
see it,
they
so,
were doing it. I tell those
I-
music artists in the early '80s, they were
Yeah.
like just as much as the rock people.
Until they made that album Naked, they were done. Naked.
Yeah, well,
sold.
that's when they weren't doing drugs as much.
That
You know,
song.
I didn't
That
actually
album
put it on the list.
sucked.
I'm just gonna say one thing, but because I didn't actually put any of his albums on the list, but I did think about him. Peter Gabriel. I will say one great quote. A couple years later, like past, I forget where it was, but it was like post-so. It was like maybe in the '90s. So it said your albums have mellowed out a little bit. They're not quite as edgy as they were when you were younger. And Peter Gabriel's response was, "Yeah, like I'm not doing as much drugs." Yeah, it's like, yeah, you don't do as much drugs, you'll lose your edge. Talking Heads, you can clearly hear when they stop doing drugs. It's like between Naked and Speaking Tongues, you could hear it. It's like, boom, suddenly, oh, they're not doing drugs anymore. And there's suddenly, like the music's still good, it's professional, it's well written, but it doesn't have that edge. It just doesn't have that manic kind of edge that their early shit had. You can just tell.
It's like they're coming down from the high and they don't know what they're doing anymore.
They're like professionals now. Like we're going
Yeah.
in there, we're doing like nice college rock. Like they kind of transitioned into
I like REM, man.
yeah, REM. To me, there's a difference between like early '80s new wave and late '80s college rock. There's just a different vibe, And the early '80s new wave had a much more coked up, edgy vibe, which I dig. I'm not saying that people should be cokeheads, but if you're talented and you play a musical instrument, yeah, you should be a cokehead. Do it, because I want to hear good music. Fucking do it.
Yeah.
Snort that shit. Don't be a pussy. Make good music.
All
If
right.
you die, you die, as Drago says. Do what you gotta
All
do.
right.
I want to be fucking entertained.
Drago!
Well, it's all about you, Eddie. I mean, come on.
It's not just me. It's all the people. All the people. We want to be entertained. I mean, maybe it's a little more me, but everyone else too. You fucking cocaine. Do it.
All right, my next act, and I'm surprised nobody has mentioned this act yet. I'm shocked, actually. Again, across the pond, she was a flash in the pan, I guess you'd call it. But when she was flashing, she was flashing. I'm talking about Amy Winehouse, Back to Black.
Well, because she
She wrote a
sucks.
song.
That's why.
She wrote a song called Rehab, folks.
But she didn't listen to her own
She's got
advice.
Good coke
No,
energy.
she
Good
should have
coke
went. Yes,
energy.
yes, yes. Okay, go ahead.
She's fighting with her boyfriend a lot of coke energy. Yeah.
I know she's got a biography movie out. It lasted in the theater like a week, I think. It wasn't very good at all, so I can.
I never really did the
I never
deep dive.
said she
I've heard a
was
couple
good,
of
and I never said I
movies.
liked her. But
She was different. I mean,
She had her
I
own
wouldn't
sound.
say.
Well,
Well, I
I
do
do.
the
Yeah,
Coke albums I
exactly.
like, not Coke,
Yeah.
Coke albums I don't
I mean,
like.
it wasn't awful, but it wasn't my cup of tea. But it was interesting. Her music. I mean,
I watch all documentaries. I don't care. I watched the Milli Vanilli one. It's really good. So there you go.
All right, Al, you're next, man.
What are we on, 6?
Yes.
All right, man. Well, this album, it's kind of related to an album I had earlier on my list, but it's got a song called Snowblind in it, but it's not the album that you're thinking of. Ace Frehley, 1978.
Oh, good one.
That is cokey. That's when
Come
they're
on, man.
working for him.
Snowblind is on there. Rip it out. I mean, it's a coked up, fueled up Ace Frehley there,
awesome
man.
album. It's an awesome album.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, what can I say, man? I mean, when you have a song called Snowblind on it, which could show up on another album,
Yeah. It guarantees it's a coke album.
it's a coke album. You know what I mean? And you know, Ace has admitted it. You know, so. And I mean, when you listen to the album, man, you just get that feeling, man. I mean, to me though, it's the best album with a Kiss logo on it, in my opinion, man. You know,
There's an argument for that.
I agree with you on that.
I'll say this. Objectively, I agree with you. Subjectively, there's about 3 Kiss albums I like a little bit better, but I don't think they're actually better. I just like them better, if that makes sense.
yeah.
Like objectively, the musicianship, Ace is playing, you know, what's his face? The David Letterman jump.
Fig playing
Yeah.
drums.
Oh,
Him with Anton Fig, with Eddie Kramer producing them, like that's like on a higher level of musicianship.
Yeah.
You know, that's why, you know, it's bullshit whenever they would push like Ace out of the studio, they're like what fucking Bob Ezrin was doing, like to get other guitarists. It's like then you listen to the 78 album and you're just like, well, Ace can like play circles around these guys that you're fucking getting in the studio.
Bob Kulick.
Yeah. Yeah, listen, Bob Kulick is good. Ace Frehley at his best was better. Like when you listen to that 78 solo album, he's fucking playing circles around all those jokers. And
I don't know.
The best part about that is when Paul and Gene.
I think he
Paul
crashed
and
and burned
Yeah,
definitely
Paul-
in the 80s, but I think Ace was fucking
Yeah,
awesome.
I mean, Paul and Gene were
Listen to
asked.
fucking solos on Eddie Kramer never did that. Listen to Rock and Roll Over. Fucking Ace is fucking, even though he doesn't have a songwriting credit on that, to me his guitar playing is like the thing that's really pushing that album. Like his solos are fucking great on it. Sorry, I'm gushing. I'm a big Ace fan.
No, I love that album too. But to me, it's a Coke album. So
Yeah. Oh, it's definitely a Coke album, and it's working for him because it's still good. You know.
Yeah.
I don't know. To me,
You like Bob Kulick better?
I'm not going to say I like him better. What I am going to say is Bob Kulick was just as good on Wasp's Crimson Idol as Ace ever was on anything. Period.
He is a good guitarist. Don't get me wrong. And I liked the stuff he did on the Paul Stanley solo album. He's a good guitarist. I mean, he's a really good guitarist. But I don't know.
well, there's a reason. There's a reason they called on him a lot, you know, for certain things. So
Oh yeah, if you couldn't get Ace, but to me also like listen to me the best stuff Ace ever did was Rocket Ride. I love that song, and Ace is like fucking all over the place on that song.
Mm-hmm.
And he had
Yeah, I'm not saying Ace is a bad guitarist by any stretch of the imagination. Don't, please don't put those words in my mouth. But I just think that on that particular album, The Crimson Idol, Bob was just as good as anything Ace did up to that point.
oh well.
But then again, Ace was writing his own songs also.
But that's the thing too. Yeah, I mean, you could argue that Bob Kulick is technically a better player, but Ace has kind of at least back in the day.
Whereas Ace is a better guitarist.
Yeah, he had a little more of his own style, you know.
Yeah, and plus he's like writing his own songs. That's half the battle right there. I mean,
Yeah, and he wrote some really strong songs like with Kiss, like Parasite.
Yeah, he wrote some awesome songs. My favorite Kiss track of all time, well, one of them, I should say, is an Ace Pen tune, Hard Times, off of
Great,
Destroy or of Dynasty.
Dynasty.
That's a great song.
I might
All
put
right,
it up.
we need to get this going, guys. I'm sorry. I don't
All
mean
right,
to,
Jerry,
but
once
it's
he's
here.
keeping us in order.
Yeah, let's
Come on.
go.
All right,
Before
Mark.
we start-
No, Al's up. No,
So-
no,
I just
Mark
said-
is up. Yeah,
Yeah.
Mark is up right now.
Oh, I don't know. I think this album was coke and heroin. Guns N' Roses' Appetite for Destruction. That's probably why I have it kind of low, my number 6. But I think
Yeah, I would say that's more heroin. I think
They had a
don't
lot
I
of
know.
think it's a
coke on that.
mixture.
It's
It's
a
a
mixture.
mixture.
It's a mixture. That's why it has a little low. This is one of the albums that Edwin. There's 2 albums on here that I think that Edwin will disagree with me, but Appetite for Destruction, I just think it was an amazing album. It was fucking very, very there was so much energy on that. It had to be more coke than heroin. That's my pick for number 6.
It's an overrated album, but there is coke energy to it. I will allow it, Mark.
Thank you.
It's so easy. It's very cokey. Yeah. All right. Is it my turn?
Nah, it's
Jerry.
yeah, no.
Did you
My
go,
turn.
Jerry?
No, I didn't go.
Jerry, then
Jerry.
Yeah, this is a retread. Al already mentioned it with Bob Ezrin and the Elder with Kiss. I mean, legendary stories behind that album about recording, blah 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 blah. Already been talked about. So let's go to your number 5, Edwin.
Okay, so the Elder was your okay.
Yes.
Okay. I don't want to trigger anyone. Okay, so there's trigger warning here. All right. I'm not going to mention this person's name, but there was a person once I had a show with Mark who talks about a band. He talked about a band a lot.
I know what this one is. I almost picked this, but I don't like it that much. So
This is the thing. To a degree, and I don't have I personally do not have a problem with this guy. Whatever. But he has
on my list too.
okay, Tim knows where I'm going. Okay.
I know where you're going to.
He has a problem with friends of mine. Mark's one of them. Ralph's another one. He's got an issue with friends of mine. So that's a problem. But I personally don't have a problem with this man whose name I'm not going to say, but he might be watching this. So I'll just say, and he kind of, even though I'm a big fan of this band, he kind of ruined them for me. Like, are you the same way, Mark? Like,
yes, he fucking ruined this band for me.
I think he ruined it for a lot of people.
Dude, I don't even talk about Rush this much. I don't understand this shit.
He kind of ruined it. Like, so it's like one of my favorite bands, and I kind of can't listen to them anymore. I might need a year or two to heal. That being said, this is such a monumental fucking coke album that I could not talk about it. Plus, it is my favorite album from the band.
Is it a 3-word title?
Yes, it is. Okay, Oasis.
I do.
Be Here Now.
Yeah.
Top 5. Yeah, Be Here Now is one of the greatest fucking cocaine albums of all time. It is very coked up. The band was doing a lot of coke. Noel and Liam have cited this. Noel says, "Oh, it's not so good. We were on cocaine." Liam says, "It's awesome. We were on cocaine." That's what's different about the brothers. One thing they agreed upon, they were on a lot of fucking cocaine. It fucking rocks. It's got energy. Yeah, from a technical standpoint, you step back, the first 2 albums probably consistently have better songs throughout, but this does have some great songs. And yeah, Do You Know What I Mean? I love that fucking song. And just the whole album, it's really fucking loud. It was like before the loudness war, they were just cranking it up. It's distorted. There's actually like some hard rocking songs on it. And it's very fucking cokey. The album cover, everything about it's got a big ass coke vibe.
Very cokey. It's fucking, dude, the album cover is made out of coke.
Yeah, it's like, it's one of those albums you get coked up contact.
Dude, there's residue, like when you get it, it's like residue.
Dude, that band is awesome. It's just
The Lux
the one
edition
dude just
came
made
with-
me hate
with
them
that
so
cover.
much. It's like, fuck.
It sounds like also it has that energy of maybe of another a Fleetwood Mac album that Al talked about that I might talk about in a little bit, but it's got the bombast of a band that had their biggest album right before that now has all this money, and along with that, this is their moment. This is their Scarface montage. You know, this is when it's going on, and that's Oasis Be Here Now. It sounds like a band doing their fucking cooked up victory lap, and it's fucking rock and roll, crank to 11. And if I can ever bring myself to listen to an Oasis album again after this other person kind of ruined them for me, this would be the first album I'll go
I think
to.
he's ruined them for everybody, just not us.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah, maybe Liam Gallagher might be even like, no, I'm not listening to that shit band. But great album, great album. Even though I don't want to listen to it right now.
All right, Tim, what do you got?
My next one is, and I'm surprised nobody's mentioned this band either. Guys, the leader of this band is famous for coke. And even the name of the band is a slang term for coke, or a coke head. Motorhead, Overkill.
Real.
It's got. I've got to take a little issue with this. Technically speaking, not to be that guy, but it's speed. He's on speed. Slightly different drug. It is. It's got. Don't get me wrong. I'm sure Lemmy was doing coke too.
Yeah, that's tomato and tomato. I mean, same effect.
It does have the same energy. It definitely has that energy. And I thought, if anything, I was going with the first album because I had White Line Fever, which is a coke song. But yeah, I mean, yeah, it's speed. So it's definitely the greatest fucking speed album of all time. So but it's got coke energy. But although I'll tell you that Fast Eddie Clark was probably all coked up.
Yeah.
And Filthy Animal.
Fast Eddie was. I know that.
Yeah, Filthy Animal's probably doing a shit ton of coke. So yeah, I guess it counts. All right, I'll out.
All right, Al, what do you got, man?
All right, so we're on number 5. On this band, I was just talking about this band yesterday. I think during this album they were at the peak of their coke taking, and I think it had to do with egos. I think it just had to do with I can't stand this other guy, I can't stand this guy. You know, I think they were at their probably, you know, the highest ego, the highest thing. I'm going with Van Halen 1984. To me, they were coked out of their fucking heads during this time period. Probably because Eddie just didn't want to deal with David Lee Roth anymore, and you know, Dave was just being Dave. I mean, his ego was just completely fucking out of control. You know, I mean, when you go back to the US Festival, you could just kind of see, you know, you could kind of almost say that's like the peak of their drugged out phase, because that performance, man, you could just clearly tell they were just about off the rails on that performance. But I'll say it carried over to 1984, and it just imploded the band. It was like nowhere else to go for these guys, man. You know, so I'm just gonna say 1984 is a coke album for Van Halen, dude. So that's my number 5.
I forgot the fucking words.
Yep.
You wrote them.
All right, Mark.
All right, this might be an album Edwin has a thing with. But
I know my next
one
one will be.
I know they did heroin. I know they did coke on this album. Alice in Chains' Dirt. This album was just a drugocopia. They did everything on this fucking album. Drugs, alcohol, anything they get their hands on. But I fucking love this album. It's not depressing to me. It's just fucking a great fucking rock album to me. So Alice in Chains' Dirt. What do you think about that, Edwin?
I take issue with that. I think it's more of a heroin album. It does have a few cokey moments, don't get me wrong. Them Bones is kind of a cokey song. It's a great album, don't get me. I love it. I think it's their best album. But I think Faceless is a little cokier, and that's a little junkier. But it is a great album, and I'm sure, you know, there was some coke being snorted at times. So
I think it was the guitar player. Lane was doing the heroin, and fucking guitar player was doing the coke.
yes,
And
but
they
I think
both.
Jerry. Yeah, I think
Jerry
was
Cottrell was doing coke.
Eric is-
Yeah.
By the way, he also sang harmonies and wrote most of the songs.
Yeah.
So show him a little fucking respect. Mark.
Exactly, yeah. And he was
No,
the
but
one
I'm
using
saying
coke.
Jerry
player.
Cottrell was half
one
of the
using coke.
songwriting team there, you know.
Yeah, okay.
And he
Get it
was
right. Get it
majorly
right.
on coke while Layton was on fucking heroin.
It's hot. Hey, it's great. It's a great album. I don't consider it a coke album, but there
I
was
think-
cocaine.
I think with Alice in Chains, I think Jerry and Sean Kinney were the coke guys, and I think Lane and Mike Starr were the heroin guys, man.
Yeah, so it's a mixture. It's all out. It's a mix.
Thank you.
It's a mix, all out.
It's a speedball. Let's go.
Fucked up.
Well,
someone's
yeah,
gonna die.
Yeah, my next one, there's no way in hell that Edwin's going to accept, but you can blame Mark for it, by the way, okay?
Yeah, I'll take it.
All right.
I'm talking about The Pipers of the Gates of Dawn by Pink Floyd. And that's definitely LSD.
I'd say that's the #1 LSD album.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure there was
LSD album of all time.
I'm sure there were coke used, but it's not a coke album.
I don't know, man.
But
I don't think of that. Yeah, whatever.
no, I don't think it was a coke album. But like I said, Mark said drugs.
An acid album.
Yeah, Mark said drugs, and I was
Well, because you were having problems, so I said
I was trying to stick to one genre. I didn't think about branching out of my genres, which I should have, because Edwin mentioned some good ones, man, that I would never thought about researching into. But I mean, I'm sure there was coke back then somewhere, they were using. I don't fucking know, but yeah, I get it. You can slap me in the face for that one. I get it. It's not a coke.
No,
album,
it's Mark's fault. Mark should have prepared.
Yeah,
well, he came to me and said, I can't figure out what I'm doing. I said, you know what? If you can't, just go for fucking heroin or something else.
That's where you let him astray. You should have said
it was my fault. I take the blame for it. My bad.
Enough albums. You should have said, think outside rock.
Well, this was like a day before this episode came out, and he was having problems. So I said, just pick something.
Jerry, you should have went with the Wall.
Probably
because Bob Ezra was
involved. Yeah, I was gonna say Bob Ezra.
There you go.
Yeah.
Generally, where there's money, there's cocaine. Go with
Exactly.
where they get successful, and some a little slicker, suddenly cocaine gets involved. Yeah.
All right, Edwin, you go #4, man.
All right. Well, Mark mentioned this before, and I will say every '70s Aerosmith album is a cocaine album. So you're not wrong. Every '70s, Tim was right as well. Every '70s Aerosmith album is a cocaine album.
I thought it was like coke, man. I'm seeing like 2 Tims over here and shit.
Yeah. Getting a little trippy there. That was LSD.
That was acid, Tim, not cocaine. Okay.
I'm on acid and cocaine right now, so it's a little mix here. But anyway, and the cognac. I'm going with Draw the Line, though. I think Draw the Line is the cokiest of the Aerosmith albums. Not my favorite.
Yeah.
But I do love, not my favorite like Mark, but I do love it. It's fucking awesome. It's a great album. Fucking Kings and Queens, Sight for Sore Eyes, Draw the Line, I Want to Know Why. Great fucking album. I love it. Critical Mass. I love that. I love '70s Aerosmith. That band is one of my favorite bands of all time. They later on became a band I wasn't as crazy about. But I love the '70s shit, even
me too.
Early '80s. Love Aerosmith. And Draw a Line, to me, the energy, plus it's called Draw a Line. I feel like that is a cocaine.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah, the whole vibe of the album, it's very cokey. And
I
it's
got
like
some lines right behind me. There you go.
It's like right before Joe Perry leaves the band. So it's like they're just on the edge of falling apart, which is kind of a cocaine thing too. Everything about it. It just, and Steven Tyler hits his like most high pitched, crazy coked up vocals on the title track. To me, it's the ultimate cokey Aerosmith album. So I'm going with Draw the Fucking Line.
Draw the fucking line.
Yeah.
All right, Tim, you're next, man.
Yeah, for me, Aerosmith was from their debut album to Done with Mirrors. After that, you can have basically anything they ever put out.
I love Pump.
It's because they were off the drugs then.
But for me, that's the Aerosmith genre for me, or the era.
Oh, come on.
Anyway.
You like I Don't Want to Miss a Thing. Come on, you love
Come
that
on.
song.
Pump
actually-
rules, man.
Actually, when that song came out, I Don't Want to Miss a Thing, I ran into Steven Tyler at a place not far from my house, and he was with his family, and he come in this big RV.
And
And anyways,
he told him that the song
all
sucks.
that we got to
You
talking.
said, I'm not a
And we
fan
got to
of that.
talking, and he said, so what do you think of the new song? Because he's like, I know you've heard it. And I said, yeah, I've heard it. He goes, what do you think? I said, I think it fucking sucks donkey balls. Jesus Christ, get back on the coke, will you? God damn. Yeah. He laughed. But anyway,
Down inside, you know.
my next track, I'm going down south, way down south. And a lot of people associate this act with marijuana just because of where they're from. But this album had a lot of coke in it too. I'm not going to say it was all coke, but it was a lot of coke. Bob Marley, Kaya.
Really?
Gotta get a little reggae.
I never associate Bob Marley with coke, but I mean, sure he did it. You know,
And
what I mean?
it feels like that's when he would be doing it too. That's like peak of his success. It's kind of the slickest album. So yeah, thinking about it now, yeah, that probably is a cocaine album.
Cool. All right, Al.
All right, man. Well, a guy that was picked earlier in this countdown here, but I'm not picking him. I'm picking a guy that hung out with him and produced this album. And I'm talking about Iggy and the Stooges, man. Raw Power.
Oh,
Nice.
very nice.
Nice.
David Bowie was involved with this album. Iggy and David were pretty close by this point, and that cokeness was starting to creep in here. I mean, this album is just definitely a coked up album, man. You know, from David producing it. So, and back then in the 70s, this was actually considered produced loud and brash and whatnot. You know, I mean, loudness wars weren't even a thing yet, but you could kind of consider this album kind of a loudness war album, you know, because it's just everything's just so fucking pushed up. It's just a loud garage punk album, dude. And David Bowie's involved in it, and Iggy was just off the fucking rails, you know. So 1973, Raw Power by Iggy and the Stooges. That's my number 4.
Great choice. Great choice. Love it.
All right, Mark.
Well, Revolver was already picked, I think, by Tim. So I'm gonna pick the Beatles' Revolver. That is a fucking really coked out album. Beatles are my number 1 band between them and Rush. But I always go for Rush because Rush never had sitars. So fucking the Beatles' Revolver. That's my number 4. The sitars suck with the Beatles. I'm sorry.
All right, my number 4 is Exile on Main Street by the Rolling Stones. I mean, we talked about Keith back then and his fucking coke use, man.
Yeah.
Again, another fucking a legendary coke album in my opinion. I don't know, was Mick big on drugs?
No, not really. He was.
Yeah, I don't think he was. Yeah,
He's like more like Paul McCartney and the Beatles. Like he dabbled a bit, like, and he did a little psychedelic stuff.
I think he kept himself together though, you know, like.
But yeah, he was definitely the most straight laced guy. Well, Charlie too. Charlie Watts was fairly straight laced as well. Actually, it was mainly Keith and the revolving guitarist.
yeah.
Mick Jones, Brian Jones, Mick Taylor.
Yeah, I don't know if Ron Wood was a big drug guy. I'm sure he was partying.
Drinker.
Yeah,
Probably a
definitely.
drinker.
Yeah, but it's mainly Keith, and obviously before him, Brian Jones.
I mean, was Bill Wyman even a big drunk guy?
I don't know. Like I said, was Bill Wyman even really playing on the albums at that point?
Right.
Yeah,
True.
so I don't know.
He seems like such a mysterious kind of like just very quiet in the background.
Yeah, he didn't have that. I definitely it's mainly Keith. That's the thing. Keith's bringing so much, but Keith is kind of the musical heart of the band, so he's like bringing in like.
I think I think the rest of them just kind of did drugs when they weren't around Keith, because if they brought him around Keith would be like, give me that. He would consume everything, you know what I mean?
But to Keith's credit, I don't think Keith missed a beat, man.
No, he's like one of these guys. He was like
just an anomaly, man.
Never missed it. He was always on it. Like the man had fucking crazy constitution.
Yeah. I don't think it affected the band at all. I don't think, really.
No, there's not really. Like I guess the mid 70s is a little bit of a dip, but it's not like they're a train wreck. They're still
Right.
they're keeping it together enough that they can, eventually do like Some Girls. So like, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Our number 3, Edwin.
This album, that my brother Al mentioned, and yeah, it's like one of the first albums I thought of. Like actually, this top three to me are the top 3 greatest Coke albums of all time. This, and I'm definitely thinking this album over Rumors. To me, Tusk is definitely the cokiest of the Fleetwood Mac albums, and just one of the cokiest albums of all time. And it's also my favorite Fleetwood Mac album. I love this fucking album.
That's a great fucking record.
It's a great album. Now I hear it's like one of those things. I know back in the day, Rumors is the bigger seller and all that, and it's the the most iconic album. But when you that's like kind of what Al was talking about, the casual music fans, like with the Black Album, for example. Like there's 2 different fan bases. For casual fans, definitely it's Rumors, but there's that other level of fandom. And to me, I hear Tusk a lot. Like Tusk has a very big cult following these days. Like maybe
I love Tusk.
yeah, I hear most people, the people I know and talk to, everyone goes fucking Tusk is the best Fleetwood Mac album. So it depends on who you're talking to. But yeah, Tusk is a masterpiece. It's their White Album. It's a sprawling, great, eclectic album. Lindsay's songs are the most cokey on them.
Lindsay's
The
my
Ledge. The Ledge. What a tricky
Ledge,
song that is,
Ledge
man.
is like the Coke anthem of Coke anthem.
It
Just
is.
the sound of his guitar, even the way he's all the high treble and stuff.
He was the real talent of that band, besides Mick Fleetwood. That's just my thing.
Well, they were all very talented. Stevie was talented. Christine was talented. They were a very talented collective. That's
Lindsay
why.
directed that musically. He directed that.
He
band.
was a great producer, but hey, listen, all I say is Belladonna to me is even better. I think that's the best Fleetwood Mac related thing, and Stevie did that without Lindsay, in my opinion. Now, I love, they're close. Tusk and Belladonna are competitive, but
Well, she didn't have Tom Petty on
it wasn't
album.
just Tom Petty wrote one fucking song on that album.
Yeah, that was the biggest hit off the album.
Stevie's very talented. Don't be fucking sexist. She's a good songwriter.
I love
Right.
Stevie, but Lindsay's my
And
favorite.
listen, Lindsay was an important component. He was, but their biggest hits were the Stevie written songs.
I love Stevie, but I love fucking Lindsay.
Got Leather and
she
Lace
was-
with Don Henley. Yeah. I mean,
listen, she wrote that though. Don Henley didn't write that. She
yeah.
wrote that.
Good point.
song.
Good point. Yeah.
And Stevie was the star. I mean, that's the thing. She had the charisma, the magnetism, but they're great. Don't get me wrong. I love Lindsay's the most talented human
Have you
being.
ever heard Buckingham Nicks? That's a great album.
Yeah, it's a great album. Listen, I'm a huge Lindsey Buckingham fan. I think he's one of the most underrated guitarists in the history of rock and roll, and one of the most talented human beings I ever saw. And he's great. But I don't want to say that the other members weren't great too, and that Stevie and Christine were also very talented songwriters and singers. They all were great.
They were all great. Yeah, I agree
yeah,
with you.
Mick Fleetwood's great. Great drummer. But yeah, the whole band. But Lindsay is definitely bringing the big Coke energy on Tusk. I will say this: Lindsay's been. Although Stevie's pretty coked up too. She'd probably get even cokier in the '80s, but she's pretty coked up here too. But it's Lindsay is bringing the big time fucking Coke mad genius energy.
Didn't she do so much coke that she fucked up?
Yeah,
the
actually,
her
Yeah,
nose?
burn a hole in her nose.
Yeah, she fucked up her nose. You could actually hear it on the it's her 3rd solo album. It's kind of sad when you hear it. Like, and even like by the time you get to Tango in the Night, you can hear her voice. Like it's she fucked up her voice.
Raspy, very
Yeah,
raspy.
she's like singing through her nose. You can
Yeah.
just hear. She's
So
still great
nasally.
on the first 2 albums. The first 2 solo albums, she sounds great. But after that, yeah, she fucked up her voice.
Yeah, what was that 3rd album called? It had like Rooms on Fire on it and a couple of
That's the
singles on
4th
it, didn't it?
one. The third
That's
one's
the 4th one? Okay.
Yeah, which is a little bit better. Third one's some shitty dance album. I forget what it's called.
I don't know.
That's probably why I don't remember it.
Yeah, it's the weakest of her albums. But yeah, I'm a huge fan of the whole band. But yeah, Tusk is so fucking cokey. Even the fucking album cover with the dog, it's just got a
Yeah.
you could just get such a cokey vibe.
I
from
have
this
it on vinyl. It's packed.
I do too. It's great on vinyl.
Yeah.
And the band themselves said they spent half the money on coke. Yeah, one of the greatest fucking Coke albums of all time. Tusk.
Nice.
Awesome pick.
All right.
Tim.
My next act, I'm gonna go to Sunset Strip, the early '70s. for this next act. He was associated with alcohol, but there was a lot of cocaine in that band too. Alice Cooper, Love Muscle.
Nice. That's a good choice. Very cokey vibe.
Muscle of Love or
Muscle of Love.
Muscle of
Yeah.
Love.
Muscle of Love.
I said Love Muscle, but yeah, Muscle of Love.
Yeah, great album. Great album. Underrated album. That's actually one of my favorite albums from the Alice Cooper band. And it is very cokey sounding. And it's right before they broke up. That's always another good characteristic of a coke album. That the band's
That's
about to
that's always the mark of a good cocaine album is you're gonna break up, you know.
yeah, it's all gonna turn to shit soon.
Yeah, good pick. Al, what do you got?
Well, you know, Eddie and Mark already mentioned this one. I got to go Aerosmith, Draw the Line. I think that's their. I mean, I could have went. I was almost gonna pick Rock in a Hard Place, but that's like Steven and the heroin throws by that point. I think they started out in coke and just gradually went into heroin and just kind of fizzled out. But Draw the Line, you know, to me, Aerosmith's coke phase, like, and Tim mentioned Toys in the Attic. Yeah, they started there. Their peak kind of was with, and they made their zenith of album for me, Rocks. But then Draw the Line is the talons of coke are buried deep in them by this point. You know, they you can't let go. You know, and they're fucking just doing mountains of it, dude. And this album just shows it. You know, so I'm not gonna dwell on it too much longer. You guys covered it pretty good. So Draw the Line is for me, number 3, Aerosmith.
All right, Mark.
Well, you guys already talked about Volume 4, Black Sabbath, so I'm just going to say that's my number 4. So you go ahead, Jerry.
Yeah, I also have Draw the Line from Aerosmith. I mean, I think that's a sweep, ain't it? Did
Tim said Toys in
No,
the
he
Attic.
picked Toys in the
gotcha.
Attic.
But so yeah, before of us said Draw the Line. So
I mean, it's an album that just proves that some bands are better on coke, and this proves it, man. I mean, Critical Mass, Draw the Line. The riff on Draw the Line is a fucking legend. The guitar riff is
Kings
just
and Queens, dude.
classic, man. Cypher Sore Eyes. I mean, it's just loaded with great tunes. But yeah, I mean, you definitely a coke album in my opinion. I like you said, I think all their 70s albums are, and you can almost put Toys in the Attic in there. I think it was pretty close. But I had to go with Draw the Line as their most cokiest album, so that's why I went with that. So anyway, let's go.
It's like in our top 4, we're hitting a lot of the same albums now.
Yeah.
A couple of you mentioned it. David Bowie, Station to Station. Like 70s, kind of all of David Bowie albums in the 70s, kind of like Aerosmith for kind of cokey. But this is definitely the peak of his addiction, and it comes through. He literally sings about cocaine on the title track. Like, so he's singing about cocaine. The Thin White Duke, his character that he was during this, is kind of a cokey character. You know, the word white's even in there. And just the whole vibe of the album, the whole sound, and the story behind it too. Like my number 1 choice, they both have 2 things in common. They both were recorded in mansions in Beverly Hills with really fucking coked up people in the early 70s. Well, no, this is kind of mid 70s, but still in the 70s. And to me, what's cokier than rock stars in the 70s in a fucking Beverly Hills mansion doing a lot of fucking cocaine and making an album? And these top 2 choices both have that. Plus, David Bowie doesn't remember making this album. That's how much cocaine he was in. He literally doesn't remember making it. And it's his best fucking album, in my opinion. It's actually my favorite David Bowie album. So I guess I really like coke albums. That's why I picked this as a category, as a topic, Mark, because actually the top, not the Aerosmith, but 4 out of my top 5 albums are my favorite albums from the band. And yeah, this is my favorite David Bowie album. I just fucking love it. It's just so good. And the title track, God, that's a fucking coke epic. Like what Echoes is for Pink Floyd, like Station to Station, I think it's like for David Bowie. It's a fucking epic, and it's so fucking coked up. It starts off as like post-punk, and then it goes into fucking disco, and it's like that, which is so coked up in itself. And it's amazing, amazing album. It's a coked up masterpiece, and David Bowie didn't remember a thing because he was so coked up, and it just goes to prove You should do fucking drugs, a lot of drugs if you're an artist.
I just hope none of you guys picked Donna Summer because she was coked the fuck out.
She was, and I thought about it, but definitely thought about Giorgio Moroder and Donna Summer. Didn't make the list, but yes,
Thank you.
but definitely very coked up stuff. Very good coked up stuff. But I was kind of balancing out. It was a balance of what was cokey and what was like my favorite, like in terms of music I liked. So like I wasn't just picking what was the cokiest. I was picking what I liked and was the cokiest. You know, and I do like that Donna Summer stuff, but not quite as much as the shit I picked. So that's the only reason it didn't break my top 11.
All right, Tim.
All right, my number. I'm sticking in with my boys from my hometown boys. I'm sticking in the Aerosmith vein, but I'm gonna go with "Get Your Wings." Right from the start. I mean, they were doing cocaine off the fucking sound rails, for Christ's sakes, in the studio on
Yeah,
the mixing board
it's Steve
before
Top
they went into
sings
the
about
studio
yeah,
and
he
actually
sings,
recorded.
yeah, and he sings about cocaine on Same Old Song and Dance.
Yeah.
It's in the lyrics. So yeah,
So
it's cokey. Yeah, definitely. Good
All
choice.
right, Al.
but like I
Alright,
said, with
Shit,
anything in the
Aerosmith's
70s,
all like 3 albums by
Yeah.
Aerosmith have already made this list.
Well, shit.
Aerosmith might be the cokiest of all the bands.
Yeah, they might be.
They actually got 2 in Tim's list, and we all said draw a line. So
Yeah.
Aerosmith might win as the King Coke band.
Yeah, Aerosmith wins this cocaine contest.
Yeah.
All right, Al, what do you got?
All right, man. My number 2 has been mentioned before. So to me, I remember when this album was coming out, it was one of the most anticipated albums that people were expecting. It was the whole anticipation of it was just so fucking over the top. And when it came out, it killed the genre. It killed Britpop. And that's "Be Here Now" by Oasis.
Man,
really,
that ex co-host is like fucking jacking off right now. You gotta,
whatever, dude. You know, but hey, listen, man. I think it killed Britpop too. You know, it just kind of was just so anticipated, and then when it came out, it just was a bloated album. But I love it. It's my favorite Oasis album as well. It really is. I mean, when I remember when I saw the video and for "Do You Know What I Mean," dude, I was like, dude, just this band is just so over the top now.
Yeah, I loved it. The fucking helicopter.
Oh yeah, dude. It's just the ego is just so out of control now. It just, you know, you can see the coke crusted around their fucking nostrils. and then Noel was, you know, talked about this album like in a documentary much later on after, you know, I think they put out like a greatest hits or something. There was like each album had its own little mini doc. And I remember watching, he was talking about this album. And I remember one of the funniest things is at that point in their career, all that was around them was yes men. There was nobody saying no to them, whatever. And I mean, there was a producer who was saying, "Don't you think that's a bit long?" And Noel was like saying, "Nah, make it longer. It should be longer." You know what I mean? As far as the length of the songs. And then, but then at the end of that little doc, he's like, "I tell you what, man, we had the best fucking time during that period, though." You know, and that just kind of sums it up, dude. You know, so I'll Be Here Now. Oasis is my number 2.
Great.
All right,
Awesome.
Mark.
Well, everybody said Tusk, which I agree with. I think it's a great album, but fucking The Chain, my God, that has to be a coked out fucking song. You know, I fucking love Rumors, man. It's fucking, they were all breaking up and doing cocaine so they could work with
Fucking
each other.
and
Yeah, it's like they had to do some fucking drugs to fucking keep going as a band. It's like everybody was breaking up in that fucking band on that album. I love Tusk. Tusk is like, I think it's my favorite Fleetwood Mac album. But Rumors, man, started the fucking thing for fucking Tusk.
Yeah,
So I'm
I mean,
thinking Fleetwood Mac Rumors.
that's
Number
definitely a
2.
coke album too, dude.
Yep.
Definitely. Yeah.
Okay, my number 2 did talked about before. I think we're gonna have a lot of them similar in our top list, but This band was going through a cornucopia of cocaine during this album.
Cornucopia, I love that word.
To coin a phrase, a song on the album. Black Sabbath Volume 4, dude. Legendary fucking coke use, dude. I mean, fucking damn.
You know, they
Go ahead.
budgeted $275,000 into the recording budget of that album just for
Did they
cocaine.
record that in Miami?
Nope. LA.
Yeah.
LA?
Oh.
Oh,
I was referencing it when I talked about David Bowie.
My
That's
bad.
the album. It was actually another mansion in Beverly Hills.
But $275,000 back in what, 73, 74?
Yeah.
That's like, wow.
That's
And the record
ridiculous.
company went, okay.
Well, I mean, back then you gave them what they needed to do the album, so yeah. I mean, that was actually
They
probably in
didn't
the
care. They
contract.
just
It probably
wanted
was
the
in the
album.
contract.
yeah, that's why Black Sabbath wasn't making any money because they spent it all on cocaine. So there you go.
I guess you guys saw the story too. Ozzy flushing it all down the toilet when the cops were coming.
Yeah.
That's literally flushing thousands of dollars.
Yeah,
down
that's
the
what he
fucking
said
toilet,
in his.
man.
I read his autobiography too. I love reading autobiographies from ex-coke heads. They always got good stories.
Yeah, but I certainly wouldn't want the audiobook to that. Oh my fucking God. If Ozzy did it, jeez.
Oh, shit.
I don't think Ozzy could do a fucking audiobook right now, dude. I mean, if he tried,
here
dude,
for
sorry.
Maybe his son could do it for him.
I mean, Sharon would probably try to prop him up there, but behind the microphone or something. But I don't
Well,
think
they
that would
could
work
just
very well.
use AI now.
I was gonna say they just do AI now, like those David
Yeah.
Lee, Quentin Tarantino things
Yeah.
that they do on YouTube. Yeah.
All right,
right,
so number one, Edwin, man.
Well, number one, of course. I'm surprised this is everyone's number one, although everyone, I think almost everyone has mentioned it. Yeah, it's fucking Black Sabbath Volume 4. It's the greatest
Number two.
fucking cocaine album of all time.
Number 3, I mean.
I mean, it like station to station gave it a run for its money. But ultimately, I feel like collectively they did even more cocaine. And it's got Snowblind, which is not only my favorite Black Sabbath song, I fucking love that song, and this is my favorite Black Sabbath album. And it's like a top 5 album period for me. It's one of my favorite albums of all time. It's like I mean, this album was going to be called Snowblind, and then the label said no. That's why last minute they called it Volume 4. But like so this album was going to be, yes, this album was going to be, that was going to be the title track. So that makes it even cokier, you know. It's the whole vibe, everything about this album was cocaine. This was the peak of their success in the 70s, like where the money started to come in, you know, from the first 3 albums. They were in LA, they're in a fucking mansion in Beverly Hills, just like David Bowie. They're doing a shit ton of fucking cocaine, and they record this masterpiece. Also, Frank Zappa said that Supernaut was the song that most captured, I'm paraphrasing, but essentially he said it was the song that best captured cocaine, a cocaine high, you know? And yeah, I mean, just fucking listen to Supernaut, like, too. So it's not just Snowblind. The whole album has a cokey vibe. Maybe not Changes so much, but everything else on the album has kind of a cokey vibe to it. And it's a masterpiece, and it's fucking Black Sabbath Volume 4. It is synonymous with fucking cocaine. It's like Scarface and Volume 4. That's the first 2 things I think about when I think of fucking cocaine. So there you go.
All right,
All
Tim.
right. My number one, I'm gonna go back to LA. Matter of fact, that's part of the title. The Doors, LA Woman. When I was researching this, the Doors came up and it just said any album.
Yeah.
Take your pick. I said, okay, I'll take my pick. LA Woman.
Almost like Aerosmith.
Yep.
Yeah, pretty much.
I
Yeah.
like LA
Pretty
Woman
much.
too. I feel like LA Woman is their cokiest sounding. It's kind of the slickest, and it's just it's got a cokey vibe.
Yeah, to me, their first album was a bit more like LSD and drinking and.
Yeah,
You know,
Morrison tells
I'm not
very.
disagreeing with you, Mark. I'm just saying.
Well,
for
you
me-
could pick
for
any
me-
Doors album. Yeah, it's all
Yeah.
the same, you know.
Yeah.
If I went with cokiest Doors album, I'd go with LA Woman. Yeah.
Strange
All of LA.
Days is more LSD to me. So,
Well, that's even more so, but yeah.
yeah.
I'd go with LA Woman. To me, that sounds cokier to me.
I agree.
Yeah. It's a good choice.
All right, Al.
All right, man. Like, well, my number one. Well, in the liner notes, when you think the Coca-Cola Company, you know, my Paisan brother, man. I gotta go. My Paisan brother Eddie, there, bro. Volume 4, Sabbath. That's my number one. When this topic came to me, dude, that was the first thing that popped in my head. That album just embodies just fucking lines of coke, fucking being. You know what I mean? I can just envision Ozzy, bro, and Tony and all them fucking guys, man.
Oh yeah, and he's literally whispering cocaine.
Yeah.
He would scream it live.
And in the lyrics and in the liner notes, it says, "Thank you to the Coca-Cola Company."
Yeah. Yeah, it's the ultimate Coke album.
It is, man. It's my number one, man. I mean, you guys covered it already. I mean, I love that album too. It's not my number one Sabbath album. Sabbath is actually my favorite Sabbath album of all time, but this album is pretty close. I mean, fucking
You can't
Wheels,
go
Wheels,
wrong for
Confu-
six.
Wheels of Confusion that opens up the album is
Yeah.
kind of like yeah, man, you're laying out the rails, you know what I mean, because it's a little slower tempoed, you know what I mean. It just kind of gradually the tempo kicks up on the album, you know what I mean. So I just find it's so funny, dude. I love that album though. It's so heavy too, man, you know. So
All right.
All that cornucopia, all that. It's such a great album.
Under the Sun, God.
It's amazing. It's masterpiece, fucking masterpiece. But the first six, you can't go wrong with the first six Sabbath albums. They're all masterpieces. Kind of like the first, six Aerosmith albums. All
And
great.
Van Halen.
And Van Halen, yes, we got they're great six packs. Yeah.
Yep. All right, Mark, number one, dude.
This has already been brought up, but a fucking band from England goes to the South and records in Muscle Shoals studio, fucking doing a lot of fucking rails there, fucking recording Exile on Main Street. Hey, let's make it a double album because we're also coked out. We can't figure out what songs. Let's just fucking make it a double album. I fucking love the Stones, Exile on Main Street. I put them above the Beatles Revolver, and you know how much I love the fucking Beatles. This album is this is like a excess album. He's like, let's make it a double album. We're fucked up. I fucking love Exile on Main Street, the Rolling Stones.
All right. And my number one is, again, I know Mark went with Rumors, but everybody else went with Tusk, and I have to agree with the ones that went with Tusk. That is my favorite. My favorite Pink Floyd. Fleetwood Mac album of all time. I love that album. I mean,
Nice.
just fucking what makes you think you're the one? I mean, come on, dude. It's a total fucking Coke song.
Amazing song. That's one of my favorites.
Amazing. Yeah, I mean,
I actually think that is it's that or Sarah. I love those two songs.
Sarah's
that's my favorite Stevie song. And actually Over and Over, which is kind of a weird album opener.
Yeah, it is.
Beautiful, haunting, beautiful. It's my favorite Christine song. Beautiful, haunting sounding ballad, dude. It's just, yeah. I mean,
I love how that comes in, and then it goes into the ledge, though.
Into the ledge, yeah. It's like, wow. I mean, it's I mean, they were pretty much writing on their own. There wasn't no really teamwork, I don't think, with the song. I think they pretty much just all
it's kind of like what
their
the
own
Beatles are
stuff.
doing in the White
I mean, Stevie had some great stuff on that one. Sisters of the Moon, Storms. I mean,
Angels,
great fucking stuff. Yeah, I mean, just loaded with that whole album is. Christine was always the one that tried to be the happier member, I think, of the band. You know what I mean? If you look at her songs, I mean, she always tried to be.
She's got that great. I love the song Brown Eyes, so that's a great movie.
Oh, dude, it's a great fucking tune. I mean, even stuff like on Rumors, like You Make Love and Fun and songs like that. They're more positive type of songs. You know what I mean? That she wrote for the band.
Isn't it funny that Christine McVie was in Fleetwood Mac, which is a well-known cocaine band, dated Dennis Wilson from the Beach Boys, who was also in a well-known cocaine band.
Yeah. Well, Christine says she thought she performed better in doing coke. So
and that song Brown Eyes is about Dennis Wilson.
Yeah, I think Peter Green played guitar on that one, if I remember right. I think,
I didn't know. That'd be cool.
I think I'm not 100% sure, but I think he did. But yeah, I mean, that's my number one. I mean,
great choice.
I mean, Volume 4. Actually, that was a good story about Volume 4 you told me. I didn't know that the record label changed the title from one that didn't want Snowblind, but one. It makes sense because why would they come out with an album called Volume 4 all of a sudden? So that does make a lot of sense. But like I said, I love this doing show with you guys. I learn shit every fucking week. Awesome. But anyway, that's our top 11 cocaine fueled albums. I think I was 10 for 11, right? I only fucked up on the Piper, right? Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you may. That was probably the one that was most like such an other drug.
Right. Gotcha.
It's like LSD was such a character of it. To me, that's like saying Magical Mystery Tour. Like it's just such a psychedelic album.
Yeah. But you did say it was probably the best LSD album. So okay, there's
it's great. It's my actually I would say that's my favorite psychedelic. It's my favorite Pink Floyd album. It's my favorite psychedelic.
That should be one of our episodes, top 11 LSD albums.
That'll be the next one. We'll do the LSD one.
Yeah, there you go.
Are we doing any honorables or no?
Yeah, go for it, man.
Oh
yeah, I'll do a couple.
All right, Edwin, go ahead, Edwin.
I'm gonna say Kiss's Dynasty, because even though yes, Paul and Gene are they don't do drugs, because so much coke energy. Ace and Peter and Peter's kind of in the band. My favorite Peter Criss song actually, Dirty Living, and Ace Frehley are doing so much cocaine and there's like disco going on around them. It just has a cokey vibe. That album just has a cokey vibe, and it's a strong album too. It's one of my favorite Kiss albums. And so I'm going to count that. Also, I will say the 78 solo album, Ace is cokey. It's very cokey, and it's like working for him. It's almost like I almost didn't include it because it doesn't have quite a train wreck element, which I like to my coke albums. But it's really it's like it's such a well put together album, but it's definitely cokey. Every fucking solo album by Peter Criss is a coke album. I would say Out of Control is the cokiest of them all. Including the title. That title track, that sounds like a song that could be a Scarface montage. Very, very cokey. Let Me Rock You is very cokey too, but I gotta go with Out of Control. Waylon Jennings, the cokiest coke album, country album of all time, is one he did in the late 70s called What Goes Around Comes Around. Look at the album cover. That's all I'm saying. It's kind of like country disco. It's like the dynasty of country albums. And it's like, it looks the way it sounds. Like kind of like I said about P-52's Miami. It's very slick and it sounds like, God damn, Waylon's doing a lot of coke. Old Dirty Bastard. The N-word. I'm not going to say it. N-word, please. Very fucking cokey hip hop album. He even raps about cocaine on it. It has a big time coke energy. The Eagles, The Long Run.
Oh,
very cokey.
A good one.
That's a good one.
Very cokey. Oh, this was the one that just missed my top 11. Very cokey, and the band was doing a shit ton of coke. It's essentially like Third Tusk, but it's not quite as bombastic, and I don't love it as much as the 11 albums I put before. But it is very fucking cokey. It's a very coke album. And even though I don't know how much coke he was doing or I don't know. The album has kind of a chill vibe in places. It sounds like he's mixing, I don't know, tequila, pot, and coke, maybe. But I gotta say it because it's fucking Mark's theme song is on it. It's Pat Travers' Crash and Burn with snorting whiskey, drinking cocaine, which is like the great cocaine anthem. So I just
that gave me the idea to snort whiskey. There you go.
Yeah, so I have to mention it. It's like I said, the album's very eclectic and it's got different vibes to it, but it does have some coked out rock songs mixed in with the kind of more chill.
Well, that's the ultimate one, though.
Yeah, gotta mention that. Yeah, so there you go. Crash and Burn.
Nice.
All right, Tim, you got any?
Yeah, I guess from Derek and the Dominoes, Layla.
Good one.
I put, and I don't know how, I'm sure there was coke used, but they were more into heroin. Well, at least one member was. Red Hot Chili Peppers with Blood Sugar's Texan Magic.
Oh, that's a good one.
It's cokey.
Then I got Jimi Hendrix, Are You Experienced? And I got Hawkwind, Psychic TV.
All right.
That's it. That's all I got.
All right, Al, you got any?
I'm surprised nobody's mentioned Alice Cooper. I think Flush the Fashion.
Tim did.
I said it's a mix. I thought about Flush Fashion. It's possible that that was mainly coke. I know by the time he gets very deep into the black out era, he's actually going to crack.
Yeah.
And crack is technically cocaine, so but I feel like it has a slightly different vibe. So that's why I was being furious about it. I was like, well, that's more of a crack vibe.
I did put Flush the Fashion as my honorable though. So
But Flush of Fashion is possibly a coke album. I might be wrong to not include it. It is a good album too.
There's a new song by Ozzy and Steve Stevens called "Crack Cocaine," but that's crack cocaine.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. I don't think a lot of people realize. Like he was
Billy Morrison too.
Bill
Ozzy
Morrison.
and Billy Morrison.
Really good song. Yeah.
Another one I got is Typo Negative, World Coming Down. Now this was the follow-up to October Rust, and then I think Peter Steele was a little bit down because October Rust didn't do as good as Bloody Kisses, so he started doing a mountain of coke and did this album. And you could tell on the album. I don't know. I like Typo Negative, so I don't know how many of you guys ever listen to them or not. But if you ever listen to World Coming Down, you can get a coke vibe from that album. Elton John, Madman Across the Water. That's definitely like kind of his coke album, in my opinion. Marilyn Manson, Antichrist Superstar. I think that's a coke album, dude. Marilyn Manson doing a ton of that shit. Primal Scream, Screamadelica. That's definitely a coke album. And I always thought Depeche Mode, Songs of Faith and Devotion was a coke album as well.
Yeah.
Although he was mixing, I think, heroin at that time.
Yeah,
too.
he was. Dave Gahan. Yeah.
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 But Songs of Faith and Devotion, they were definitely fucking strung out like crazy, dude.
But they started using guitars on that album.
Yeah.
It's like,
Well, that's probably why. You know, they were fucking poke the fuck out and all that shit. So
love it.
Those are my honorables.
What about you, Mark?
I have no honorable, but that Songs of Faith and Devotion, I agree with Al on that one. Fucking love it.
I'm surprised you didn't go with, I don't know how much coke they were doing, but to me, Duran Duran's very coke.
They did, but they didn't make an album on coke. They did it during the tours.
Did they have a live album?
Yeah, the live album Arena, maybe. Yeah,
Arena. Go with Arena then. That's your honorable.
Yeah, I wasn't going with the live album, but they did a lot on tour. Yeah. And Oingo Boingo did nothing. So there you go.
I don't buy that.
I had to get that out.
Danny Elfman seems like he was doing coke.
Maybe.
I'd be surprised. Just saying.
Jerry.
All right. Yeah, this has been a fun episode. It's been, like I said, educational as always. Love hearing from you guys, and appreciate the knowledge that you bring to the show, especially Al, Edwin, and Tim. Thank you for being on. Mark, why don't you take us out, dude?
I'm just going to say Freeform Rock Podcast tomorrow. We got an album that has a song called Snowblind on it. Paradise Theater by Styx.
There you go.
Is that about cocaine?
Probably is.
Harmless and Innocent, You Devil in White. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, it might be we didn't pick Styx Paradise Theater, but maybe because it was one song on there. But that's our review of what we did tonight. And also check out our review about Mob Rules with Tim. That's out there right now. So that's it, Jerry, man. And what are we doing next week? It's your pick, man. Your birthday pick.
Well, yeah, we're doing our top 11 Phil Collins Genesis songs, whatever. Next time you can do Phil Collins solo or Genesis, songs. Yeah, I've been diving deep into them lately. There was a time where I couldn't tell a Genesis song and a Phil Collins song apart, and some of them do sound the same. I mean, I get that, but I'm starting to listen to them enough where I can, tell them apart now. So I'm getting there with Genesis and Phil Collins.
All right,
tremendous talented band.
Well, then let's let Edwin promote his stuff, man.
I got my YouTube channel, which is Eddy Cannistraci on YouTube, and I haven't. I've been busy with my day job, so I haven't been able to make quite as many videos as I've had in the past. But I am working. I've been talking about this for a few weeks now. I am in the process of editing a AC/DC related video, which should be done this week. Latest would be next week, and that's gonna be a fun video.
Is Dave Evans a part of it?
No, it's not.
Okay, just asking.
Yeah, it's a fly on the wall.
What, the best lead singer AC/DC never had? Come on.
I had to bring that
I
up.
am wrong because I ignore the Dave Evans era. But
I don't even know if there was an era.
about a year
One
with
single.
one single. But yeah, it's fly on the wall and blow up your video. I discussed that period and what I think about it, and also I touched upon who made who as well. And so it's me talking about like mid to late 80s AC/DC. And that should be up in about a week or two. We have the Rock Over podcast. We have been on hiatus for a couple weeks, but we are coming back. Eric's worked out a few of his issues that he had in his life, and we are working on a couple of the episodes. We got one coming up with Mick Watkins, which we're excited about, which is a Motley Crue album. So keep a lookout for that. That should come up in the next couple of weeks too. So you will get some Eddy Cannistraci content in the coming weeks, in addition to this fine episode with you fine people.
And then we got you, Al. Promote your stuff, man.
Be Cool to Be Podcast Out. It's my YouTube channel. I got some content in there. If you want to see concert footage, it's up there as well. Black Spinner Circle podcast with Andy Rodriguez. Next week, I'm still trying to iron out if I'm going to get him on for an interview, but I got Tim Durling's Great Kansas book here. He was very nice to send this to me, and we're going to have him on our show. If not next week, it's going to be in the coming week. We're going to interview him. He's got a great channel too. Tim's Vinyl Confessions. That's actually his channel. And that's it. I got my Facebook group too. Be Cool to Be Podcast Out. Just talks about pretty much anything, man. And that's what I got.
You
All
two
right.
you two are almost neighbors, right? Down there in Florida.
Yeah,
Yeah.
me and Eddie. Yeah,
You both are in the Tampa area.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they go to shows together, man.
Yeah, we're concert buddies.
Yeah.
We saw
Gotcha.
Pat's Rap.
I'm your concert buddy too if you come to LA again.
Oh yes, when I was in LA, Mark was a concert
Thank
buddy.
you. But Tim, you have nothing except freeform in this thing because we bring you on both these shows.
Oh,
But
I have
Jerry,
nothing. I'm not on a podcast or anything like that.
well, you're on our
so-
podcast. So Jerry, you're 3 shots down, man.
Yeah, we're taking. Andy's got vacation. Kate's got her comedy thing, so we're kind of on hiatus too. But in a couple of weeks, we're planning on starting it back up again. We got 2 great episodes. I think we're talking about the Leonard Skinner plane crash, and the events after that, and then after that, we're going to be doing the day the music died. You know, Richie Valens, the Big Bopper. You know, we're going to talk about that. Should be a lot of fun, man. Interesting stuff. So looking forward.
God,
to
you should have my daughter on in that episode. That was like the first thing. That was like the first thing of music that she grasped onto was that event. Like that whole, she got into like the Big Bopper and Richie Valens and all that. I don't know how she got this idea from, but she found it like on the internet when she was only like, when she's 16 now, when maybe before she was even 10 years old. She started talking about, do you know, Daddy, you know the Big Bopper and Richie
Buddy
Valens,
Holly.
the music died. And she started talking about American Pie, Don McLean and everything. It was the song with the lyrics in there. And then she kind of researched it herself. And I think she was only like 8 or 9 years old. Because I was like, it's blowing my mind. So like she probably knows more about that event than I do. You know what I mean? So that's pretty funny. Anyway, I'm sorry to interject in there.
No, that's cool. And anyway, but we're looking forward to doing those and having them out. You know, like I said, you know, Kate's really trying to concentrate on her comic career, which is she's pretty funny, actually, I think. So I hope she succeeds at it. So good for her, you know.
So I'm just gonna say like, share, and subscribe to BS Sessions. Check out the Freeform Rock podcast. Got plenty of episodes on both of these channels. We have a Freeform Rock podcast YouTube channel too. BS Sessions, man. Just like us, man. We do this for free. We in here. We love all of our podcast brothers and sisters. And thank you guys for being on here. Edwin, I love you, brother. Tim, I love you. Al, I love you. And Jerry, you know I love you, man.
Love all you guys.
Dude, Edwin, man, thank you for being on, dude. I always love having you on. Please come back again, dude, soon.
Yeah, definitely.
If you
Always a
can,
pleasure.
man.
Oh, of course. I love talking music with you guys. Always a lot of fun.
I love learning. So you guys are awesome. Anyway, guys, y'all take care. Love you. Be good, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you guys.
Thanks, guys. Peace out.
Later, guys.